This kind of sounds like common side effects include weight loss, weight gain, diarrhea, constipation, more weight gain, nausea.
Oh my god, totally.
What's up, everybody? We'll start right in a couple seconds here.
All right, let's do this.
All right.
I'm just waiting for the generic music to cut off. All right, cool. Welcome everybody. Good evening. Well, it's evening where we're at. Yeah. Welcome to the podcast. This is MixTalkLive. This is the show where we talk about things that are nostalgic and retro, but also still very relevant to today. And we have a conversation about how things have changed over time. So it leads to some interesting storytelling. I'll introduce myself first, and then we'll introduce everybody, and then get into our topic. My name is rizalineB. I am lovely wife to DJB_remix. I work in marketing and communications by day, but by night I am scrolling endlessly on TikTok. It's a bad habit.
It's true.
Yeah, and I am one part of Mix Talk. I feel like I should have you go next. You can go next. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, well, how's it going, everybody? My name is DJB. I am lovely husband to Rizalee. And I stream twitch.tv, or as Crazy Pac-Man would say, http://twitch.tv/DJB_remix. I do music streaming, but I also do a lot of Valorant and other variety games as well. And I am also I'm also someone who does a lot of discussion-based type streams. And this is one of them, and this is something that I really enjoy doing. So let's go on to...
Yeah. Let's introduce our next panelist, Johnnyfrickinrico.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? My name is Johnnyfrickinrico. I am a content creator, streamer, even though I haven't been streaming for a little while. Sometimes you just want a game and you don't want to, put it all out there.
What was the last thing you played?
Yesterday I was playing with the PSVR,
Nice.
Drive Club VR. If you never played it, you gotta play it. This game is awesome. You can drive the cars that you want but can't afford in the game, and you can look all around the car. So it's like, I've been there, done that.
Is it a controller that's like this, or like you have like a this?
I have a steering wheel.
Wow,
I have the steering wheel, the pedals. I don't have the gear shifter box.
Yeah.
I don't, you can actually change the gears on the paddles on the steering wheel itself, but I have a steering wheel for it. You can play without it. The PlayStation VR has these little. I'll show you. These are the little sticks you use as hands in the games, but you can use a regular controller or a steering wheel if it's compatible. So it's pretty awesome.
Nice.
I even have the gun. I have this huge gun for some of the
goodness.
gun games.
Do we have that too?
I
Right?
think
So if you guys never experienced VR, check it out. Check out the Oculus for PC, or if you have a PlayStation 4, the PSVR. The games are phenomenal. If anything, it's like I can't go more than an hour because it's exhausting. It's hard to explain. Like, I'm just mentally fatigued. I'm old. So if I was in my 20s, I'd be like 3 hours straight, but no, about an hour. So, thanks everyone. Yeah, happy to be here. I want to welcome everyone to a new year, and
That's right.
great to see everyone here.
Nice. Thanks, Johnny. All right, our next panelist is Wifey Loves Nerd.
Hello, everybody. How are you? So, I'm Wifey Loves Nerd. I am a stay at home mom. I am much a crafter. I'm usually doing pretty much DIY. I was just DIYing my son's room. We did a whole wall to make it look like wood and repainted a bed. And so, yeah, I'm usually found doing DIYs or crafting. I'm also a baker. I've been a baker for many, many years. Um, I just moved from Texas to Florida not too long ago. So we just bought our first house and trying to fix everything up. But yeah, so that's me.
Nice. Thanks, Wifey. And of course, last but not least is our fearless leader, Annie Talks.
Hello, everybody. Hey, what's up, guys? DJ, Rizaline, Johnny, and Wifey, and everybody in chat. Hello. My name is AnnieTalksShow. I'm a variety streamer. I started out here on Twitch as a just chatting, and then podcasts and talk shows, and then we found each other. So the majority of us all found each other on Twitch things. And we did that for about a year until it went away. And then, so I'm just kind of doing music streams when I can, but primarily gaming. You guys all know, those of you who are in Discord and follow. I do primarily gaming now.
Primarily Valorant, right?
Yeah, primarily. But we've been playing Overwatch lately. So those of you who have been with us in chat, you know that we've been kind of like cycling and rotating everybody in for Overwatch, and then we do custom Valorant games as well. But by trade, by day, I guess. Well, I don't know. By trade, I don't. My day job's a whole different thing. But by trade, I am a publicist, communications broadcaster, on-air radio personality, and all that biz. And I love talk shows and podcasts. If you haven't already figured it out. She needs an intervention for Valorant. Oh my Lord. And I love podcasts. So I have my own podcast called the Annie Talk Show. And then we have this MixTalk. We did MixTalkLive. We've done other podcasts with other, DJ and I have been with other podcasts and whatnot. And we are creating a new one coming up. So that's still in the works. And I'm not going to reveal that yet. But it's coming up soon. And then hopefully a fourth one in the works. So, you know,
Nice.
We're working on it. We're trying to put more talk shows and podcasts out there. So if anybody would like to be a guest, let me know. DM me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Nice to
Annie.
be here.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So before we get into our topic, I did want to mention that there have been some important football games that happened today, and if anyone watched them, I know some of us are. If you guys are hyped about it, not hyped, or kind of meh? Anyone wanna share some thoughts on some football? So we're talking about American football.
Whoa.
Rams house.
Also.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm the only Niners fan here, so it's...
I'm
You know
like,
what? This season,
it's all right.
like my personal opinion, this season, if you don't score 30 points, you don't win the game. It's been a
Oh,
high,
my God.
like hardly any defense this season on a lot of these games. These two games played today by the Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals, and the San Francisco 49ers and the LA Rams. There was some good defense on display, and I think that's really cool to see that. Because they always say defense wins games, and I think this is a good example of you have four teams with really good defenses just going at it, and both games were kind of low-scoring affairs, both of them under 30 points.
I agree with you
for
on
the
that.
winner.
I agree with you on that.
And-
But I have to say this though, Johnny. I have to say this. Momentum change on both games, right? When the Chiefs had it, they went into the second half leading, right? Just kind of the same where the 49ers were they had the momentum. Everything switched right after halftime. So I kind of saw
That's-
the pattern today.
Well, that's kind of normal though, because when you go into halftime, you know what that team ran, for this situation, for that situation. So when you come out to the third quarter, you have a game plan to, because you've already seen their plays and the personnel they run through those plays. So they're not able to run them again. You know what I mean? That's why sometimes it's good not to show everything you have that first half, because it leaves you vulnerable. And to be honest, Joe Burrow from the Bengals is one of the best quarterbacks. It's only his second year, I think, in the NFL.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, getting to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And Stafford with the Rams is probably one of the best quarterbacks there is. I mean, he got the Lions to the playoffs. That itself is a miracle. He did that like 2 or 3 years ago. That's like a miracle right there. Because if you look, the Lions quarterback is the old, like basically the Rams and the Lions switch quarterbacks. So Stafford
Lots of
went to the
animals right
Rams, and then Golf went to the Lions, and the Lions had like 2 wins this season. So it's like, you know what I mean? The talent is with Stafford. So
Well,
it's
without
a really
boring
good game,
everybody
so.
else, let's probably
All right, all right, all right.
let's switch gears. We digress. Johnny and I always
No,
digress.
it's all good. It's all good. Because basically, the games today were like to narrow down which 2 teams will be in the Super Bowl, right?
Right.
Right.
And when is the Super
big
Bowl?
game? The big game.
Is it
the
next
big
week?
Game.
No,
Yes.
like 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks from
2
now.
weeks. Yeah.
Okay. So we have time
Yes.
to prepare
Yes.
ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, they also showed who's going to be on the halftime show. And I was
Who is
like,
it?
damn.
Yes.
Who is it?
That's a
Yeah,
fire
that was
lineup.
pretty awesome.
And like
got
Dr.
Snoop
Dre,
Dogg.
Snoop Dogg.
Oh, is it like E40? And like
Possibly.
too short?
Uh,
No. Okay.
Maybe.
No,
I don't know.
I think it's
No, that's a different one.
Who
Mary
else
J.
was on it?
Blige is
Mary
there.
J.
Yes.
Blige.
Mary J.
Yes.
Blige,
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
Eminem too, right?
That sounds right.
Eminem's going to be there, really? Oh.
Well,
Yeah, I thought so.
okay.
It's gonna be pretty awesome. I have to say, you know, and those of you guys that know me, I'm a huge baseball fan, so I will watch that throughout the whole entire season from opening day
You are a
to
big sports head.
to
It's true.
yes to World Series. But when it comes to baseball, I have to say, I am a bandwagoner, but I only jump on when it's playoffs and the big game. Oh my gosh, you
Oh,
guys, we
me
can't
too.
say that. The big game. From playoffs to the big game. So that's the only time that you'll ever see me ever talk about football. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Super Bowl is a big deal.
So,
Big game.
Annie's saying she doesn't know much about football. Yeah.
I do. I do. I just don't like to talk about it. It's like,
It's
Okay.
all good. So we were talking about the halftime show and like the performers and some
Oh, there you
famous
go.
rappers.
Tech
But
just
I
put
will.
it in the chat. Mhm.
But I'll also introduce our topic with a segue. Okay, so to introduce our topic for this evening, in the wise words of the Wu-Tang Clan, cash rules everything around me. Money makes the world go round, and that means that we have to figure out ways to get that bread. So, from side hustles to 9-to-5 desk jobs, today we're talking about our work life and how it has changed over time. I will start off by saying that the music that we were playing in the beginning was like the generic copyright-free business casual sound. Like, it's so triggering for me. Like, I don't like hearing it. But that's also because we've like made like corporate videos in our jobs too. So it's just you know, like the 9-to-5 desk jobs cubicle thing is a whole vibe that we kind of make fun of. But yeah, so I am hoping that we're gonna spill a lot of tea today and keep it appropriate, and that we can change names if we have to. But yeah. Let's talk about our jobs. I think it's one of the it's one
Did we
of
have
those.
an icebreaker? Did you do the icebreaker?
Our icebreaker
Or did
was
we already
kind
do
of
it?
just talking about
Oh, okay,
talking
good.
about
Oh,
the
good.
football game. But
Yeah, I told
We're
told
good, we're
Rizzaline,
good.
I was like, she was like saying, what should we do as an icebreaker? I was like, well, we just I mean, it was the division championships today, so might as well
Ah,
just
The
start off
ice,
with that.
the ice
there
has
you
been
go.
Did
broken
you
for
guys
us.
see? It
Perfect.
was Brandy who sang the
Yes.
national
Yes, the
anthem.
national
It's like I'm
anthem.
feeling old. Okay, Brandy. I'm like, oh man, that's Brandy.
She was good. I
She
thought she
was
did a really
good.
good
No,
job.
I
She
know,
did.
but to
Yeah.
see her older, it's like
Oh
that makes
yeah.
me feel
Mhm.
old, right?
That's
Because she's
true.
like
Really?
sitting
I
up in
thought
her room back in the day, and now it's like
she was
Well,
timeless to me.
it was good though. She did really good. I was happy to see her. Like,
Mhm.
well, the rest of this conversation might make you still feel old, so I'm sorry. But the first
That's
question we're
true.
gonna start off with for everybody: um, how old were you when you got your first job? So let's think about our first jobs. Also, was there any kind of motivation for us starting to get a job? Um, does anyone have any immediate memories that come to mind? Oh,
I can start.
yeah, yeah.
I think I want to say it was maybe 16 when I got my first job.
Okay, so high
My
school.
first job was actually working for a chain, a restaurant chain called, then, I don't know about now, but it was called Perry's Pizza.
Mhm.
So I was one person in the back, or one of the people in the back that made pizza. So the order in which we had to do is, of course, the bread, the dough, and then the red sauce, and then the cheese, and then the pepperoni. So they were only mostly known for pepperoni pizza. So that was their thing, a slice of pepperoni pizza. So it was like it was a big thing here in SoCal.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. And then that was the glamorous part. The unglamorous part, yeah,
Mhm.
seriously, the unglamorous part was cleaning and mopping the floor, which was so disgusting. So I
was
think it was, like I said,
there
I think it was 16. Mhm.
was there like did your parents say like you had to start working or you just decided on your own to
I decided on my
apply?
own because
Okay.
growing up, when in high school you did a lot of, well, for me, I did a lot of extracurricular stuff. So, you're there during school, and after school was either band, not me band, but drill team, extra, all the auxiliary stuff that we would do, or I would do musicals. I did a lot of musicals then. But during the first half of the year, I guess, when things were kind of slow a little bit, I only had 4 periods, so I didn't have a full day. So I'd like
Oh,
work.
okay.
What do they call it? Work,
Is it
study.
works like you had to get something signed by the school to let you
Right.
work because you're underage?
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
only
yeah.
had,
work
yeah, I
permit.
only had
Yeah, that
periods
sounds
one
right.
through four. So before noon, I was always out of there, and I went straight to the mall and worked. So I wanted my own
Okay.
money because it was really, really hard to ask my parents or to get my parents to pay for a lot of things because they were super, strapped for money and whatnot. And the last thing I wanted to do was, make them pay for everything. So I decided that I would go to work. So I've been working since I was 16.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
pretty
Wow.
early.
Nice. Respect the hustle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wifey, how about you? What was your first job? Um, what was the reasoning behind getting your first job?
So I think I started when I was a senior in high school. I remember they would let us leave like early, like if you had a job. I think you had like your last hour or last class of the day or something would technically be to go to work.
Okay.
And so I started at a grocery store called Winn Dixie, which is very popular over here in Florida. Um, and I started as a cashier. And my biggest motive was because my parents were like, if you want a car, you need to work for it. And, so I
Oh,
wasn't,
okay.
very privileged with, some people's parents that say, here, car for you, that kind of thing. So
Right.
I had to really work for mine. And so that was my first job was working at a grocery store. And I remember it was like so much training and you had to learn like, how to, um, work the register. And I remember it was a lot of standing on my feet. like all day long, and um, you would take your breaks here and there or whatever. But I remember that was it didn't last very long. Let's just say that it didn't stay there very long.
How long?
I didn't. I was there for maybe, I think, I don't know, maybe I was like 3-4 months or something. Like I didn't stay there for very long. I quickly realized like this is definitely not for me. Yeah, it was just a lot of standing up, and you know, I remember like I every time I would go to, because I'm horrible at math, so when it came to like numbers and stuff, like my drawer would always come out like short, or like there would be something wrong. Yeah. And so like, and then they would be like, okay, well, this is your last time. If you do it again, we're gonna have to take it out of your own money, and so yeah.
Man.
So I think I would give people like way too much money back or something, or like yeah. That was generous.
Oh no.
But yeah, it didn't last very long. I mean, I did it for a while, and then after that I was like, nah, I'm gonna try and find something else.
So were you able to save up for a car?
I did once I got a different job and stuff like that, and started working somewhere else. And I think I jumped around a couple times. I'm pretty sure I jumped around a couple times for different jobs. And then, once graduating from high school and going into college, then it kind of got more difficult, because then times, for college would conflict with jobs and stuff like that. So, but I was able to save up and, got my first little car. I think it was like $3,000 or something. It was like some old junky car, which we talked about in one of our other podcasts.
Okay.
We saw a picture, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and it's a good feeling though, because you worked, as young, and you actually did, get what you were trying to work for. So
that's true.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
True. Johnny, how about you? First job.
Let's see. Graduated high school. I kind of took a 6-month hiatus because I kind of felt like I deserve a break. So I probably didn't start working until maybe right before I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Okay.
I've worked when I was 15, 16, 17 years old. My mom was a florist, so I would help her, but that didn't really count. That's not really me having my own job from someone that's not family. So when I was 19, about 19 years old, I got a job at Baskin Robbins, was my first official job.
Ooh.
And my sister, Scaring Stone, was the manager of that store. So we had a lot of fun. I won't go into detail because it would be incriminating.
So it was a nepotism.
But yeah, my sister was the manager, and we got to work together. That was really an awesome time. To be young,
cool.
To be siblings, and to just own that store, basically.
Slinging that ice cream.
So.
How
Yeah, it was cool because back then you wore I was like the only guy working there, so all the girls loved having me work there in case they got robbed or something,
In case you got
and we wore like pink shirts. So I had a pink shirt and like a dark blue apron, and then you got to wear the little visor hat. It was actually a really cool first job. You get free ice cream on your break, and if you wanted to buy one of those huge, the big tubs of ice cream, if you wanted to buy a whole one of whatever flavor, it's like $30 back then. $30 for a whole tub of whatever flavor you
wanted.
Like
the ice cream shop size tub, the
one that they scoop out of the huge container.
Oh, wow.
It was $30 for the employee discount, and all my friends would come by. People from high school would come by. So it was a lot of fun. It was I really enjoyed those years.
So how
it didn't last long. I got another job probably 6 months later.
Okay.
And my sister kind of got mad at me, but you got to move up. You're either growing or you're not. It's like there's no third direction.
True.
But it was a lot of fun. I kind of miss it.
Nice. Well, now we'll think of you every time we get a Baskin Robbins ice cream.
I'll make sure you order what the heck is it called? Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. Get the hot fudge though. Hot fudge is so awesome.
Nice.
Nice. And also, everybody in the chat, thanks for tuning in. We do want to hear from you too. Let us know what if you want to tell us, we'd love to hear what your first job was and if there was any reasoning behind when you got your first job. It's interesting because it sounds like a lot of us so far, like, we're in like high school or like kind of out of high school. I do remember, like, I had classmates in high school that were working. We have a theme park in our hometown, Six Flags. So a lot of the high school students would be working there. So you go on these like roller coaster rides, and it's like it's run by like teenagers. Like our lives are like
Right.
our lives are in the hands of like kids that are not even 18. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. You got a 16-year-old in
Little bit.
charge of like making sure that you don't fall off the ride by like he's the one fastening you to your seat.
Yeah, I didn't work there. What was my, so like, because I guess the definition of like first job can kind of depend on what you see as your first job. Because like Johnny, you said before, you would like help out at your mom's floral shop, right? But you count like Baskin Robbins as like your first job. Like for me, I think, I mean, I did stuff for like church. Like they had like a summer kids program, and so it's just kind of babysitting. I did a lot. I mean, I did a lot of that like in college. Why are you laughing?
Did you say it's basically just babysitting?
It was basically babysitting. And I did a lot of babysitting and nannying like
That's true.
in college too. And then it wasn't until like after college that I like my first job would have been like at a non-profit, I think. Yeah, and it was doing like communications and stuff.
Nice.
But that's what it was for me, I guess. I didn't really feel the need, but I don't know, to make money. I guess I did. I don't know. But DJB, how about you?
Well, okay. My first job, I was also a senior in high school. I don't really remember why I got this job. I think it was like I was never pressured. I never felt like I needed to get money all the time. You know, I think maybe it's just a generational thing. Like, I don't know. Like kids nowadays, a lot of them don't even really drive until they're in like college and stuff like that. It's because you just feel like you don't need as much independence, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so I was a senior in high school, and there was a guy that was a friend of my family, and he was the assistant manager at a Big Five in the city of Napa. And they were looking for a shoe salesman, so...
Slinging shoes.
You were slinging.
Yeah, so they asked me to they asked me to be a to interview, and so yeah, I got that was my first job, and I was selling shoes basically, and that was not like it was not a great job in my opinion, because one, like, the clientele there, Napa's worlds apart from the city that I grew up in. You know, it's Napa's far less diverse, and they're far more affluent. That's wine country, you know. So a lot of the people that would come by were just, I don't know, just I mean, really
Privileged?
quick. Okay, I don't want to sing. Yeah, sure,
Spill
sure,
the tea.
sure.
Spill the
Okay.
tea.
That's all. That's all.
Spill
You
the
know, like, these are
Tell us
wealthier
how you
people, and they're
Yeah.
like, they're upset over mislabeled something that says it was supposed to be on sale, like, but it was on sale like 2 days ago, and we just forgot to
Right.
take the tag off. You know, and they're upset. So
Yeah.
I love customer service stories.
I know.
Those are my favorite.
That's like a wealthy area. Why would they be complaining about something is not on sale? Like,
That-
my
They have
aunt lives
nothing
out there.
better to do.
That area is very
oh yeah.
rich. Like, even
Affluent,
the
yeah.
restaurants, you go there, you blow like $300 easy.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I'm surprised to hear that. I would think like as a high schooler getting a job at like a Foot Locker or a shoe store, even a Big Five, that would be like dream job for like me as a kid. And in high school, because I would have all my friends' size numbers. I would hold them, because the shoes are a necessity
Oh
when
yeah,
you're a kid, right? That's
that's
like
true.
a status level thing. Whether you
Mm-hmm.
play a sport or whether it's a new school year, it's like shoes are very important, at least for me as a kid back
Oh
then.
yeah.
So to be able to work in that field, be like, hey, I'm holding you your size, drop by, I don't.
I hear you
That's
Mm-hmm.
though, DJ. Actually, my second job was working at a shoe store, and when I started at the shoe store, it was Kinney Shoes at the time. I don't think it's around anymore. It was kind of a subsidiary of Foot Locker. Like it was the dress up version of Foot Locker, right? So,
Interesting.
but I started out as a cashier, and then I wanted to be a salesperson so bad that then when they
Really?
finally made me a salesperson, I was like, "Can I go back to cashier, please?" I was so mad because
Dude.
I was not having it. I didn't want to touch people's feet, which I kind of had to do at one point because I had to like,
Mm.
you had to give them these little try-on
Uh-huh.
socks, and they're, oh
Oh
my
yeah, I
god,
remember
it's like
that.
horrible, horrible. And when they would take off their regular socks, or not even, sometimes they wouldn't even have socks, and then
Yeah,
they would take
yeah.
them off and try on with their nasty stank feet these brand new shoes, and I'll be like,
Oh no.
Not just
like,
that, but sometimes they would take they would take the displays off the wall and try them
yeah,
on with their feet, and that would piss my boss off because that's the display. Like you don't want to get that dirty,
Right.
right? So
yeah.
Or
Oh,
stinky.
yes. Oh
yeah,
my God.
yeah.
It was so gross. Yeah. I was like, nope, I need to go back to cashier. And they made me back cashier. In a
That's a little
heartbeat. Yeah.
sexist, don't you think? Because I remember at Big Five when I was there, all the female workers were cashiers, and all the
Cashiers.
male
Yeah.
workers were salesmen, or shoe salesmen,
True.
which I think was like, come on, I wanted to be cashier because I didn't like dealing with the customers. Like, I didn't like trying to find shoe sizes and like climbing the ladders all the time just to
Right.
tell them, sorry, we don't have a 6.5, you know.
Right. Right.
so, um, so yeah, but that's I guess whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's probably better now. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't
Mhm.
beat the smell of new shoes everywhere. Come on. Is there
True.
any
Yeah.
smell like that? Like when I say new shoes, I don't mean like I'm talking
Previously
like,
worn.
sneakers, basketball shoes, Jordans. You
It's
know what
like
I
the
mean? They
rubber, the
have a very
plastic,
distinctive.
The
that's
Yeah,
rubber,
true.
just
the plastic. True. True.
The leather.
That new. It's almost like the new car smell, but only the new shoe smell. Totally.
it never
But you
stays that
know,
way either.
at Kinney Shoes, I'll tell you this because a lot of the stuff that we sold were like leather, so plastic leather. So, and then we actually had to take the shoe trees and grind them so that they would stretch out the shoes for somebody. Oh my God, I'm telling
Oh,
secrets. Okay, so
that's
like
okay.
they would say, they would go, "Do you have this in a 7.5 or no 8 or 8 wide?" I go, "No, I don't have that." So then we would go in the back. I go, He wants a wide." And so we take the shoe tree and we'd
That
like
would be
stretch
me.
it and we'd stretch it and stretch it. We have 7.5, but it's wide. And he would try it on, and they'd be like, "Okay, I'll take it." So all the secrets, or all the stuff that we used to do in the back, terrible, terrible. Stretch the shoes. Sometimes take white paint and
Oh
they have the
no.
little little scuffs with white paint, or no, shoe polish, take a white little shoe polish and dab it, the scuffs and such. So there was so many things that we did, and that's why I was like, oh heck no, 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 no. So let me go back to being a cashier where I don't know anything, so then that way I don't have to pretend like I don't know what they did to these shoes. So yeah.
So it sounds like
Conjunction says every woman's size is a size
It's
7.
7.
Is that true?
no.
No,
My feet are
I
not size 7.
neither
I
am mine.
started.
I'll
I
tell
started
you
at a 7.
that. Shoot. I mean, so it sounds like a lot of us have had experience in like retail or like sales, kind of customer service a little bit. I mean, I feel like that's kind of one of those things you gotta learn is like how to
It's paying your dues.
interact
Yeah.
with customers in some way or form. I am also curious what kinds of jobs did people around you have when you were growing up? Um, I know for me, so like the stereotype is like a lot of Filipinos are nurses. So I had a lot of aunts who were nurses. My dad was in the Navy. My mom was a social worker. Um, those are kind of, yeah, a lot of medical field. I don't know,
Mm.
like, cause sometimes we kind of, maybe that's what we saw around us growing up kind of affected what we wanted to do
Mhm.
job wise too. But how about you guys, wifey? What were some jobs people had around you when you were growing up?
Let's see. My mom did a lot of medical as well. She used to work doing doctors. Well, I think she worked like as a doctor's assistant, but mainly was like, what do you call those people who listen and they type everything that they hear, and
Oh,
the doctors are saying all these.
stenographers,
Uh,
I'm not sure what it's called, but I know
transcribers.
she did that. Like she
Okay,
Mhm.
was always listening to what the doctor's notes were and had to type
mhm.
everything out and stuff. And
nice.
I remember her always working in different doctors' offices. And actually, one of our people here listening, V. Colum, her mom used to work with my mom actually,
Ah,
and they used to work in medical offices and stuff too. There you go. She wrote it, transcriptionist.
wow. Okay,
But yeah, her mom and my mom, we grew up together, by the way. So she's one of my bestest friends from childhood.
nice.
But her mom and my mom worked a lot in medical. And my dad, he kind of had two different things. He did a lot of different jobs, but his main was selling eyeglasses.
Oh,
Mhm.
And I remember he used to work in a place called Vision Works. I don't know if that's still around. But he worked at that place for a while and then kind of did his own thing on the side. And I remember him having like tons of different frames and even sunglasses and stuff that he would go around selling. He was also a musician, so he worked with music all the time. He would go play at nightclubs or restaurants.
ooh.
So we had musicians at the house all the time. I
What did
mean,
he
that
play?
was my dad played so many different instruments, but his main was piano.
Oh, okay.
He
Ah,
was one that could pick up a violin and could play it. He'd pick up a guitar, he could play it. You know, he was very much like that. But he did a lot of practices at home, and so that was always surrounded. You know, I was always surrounded by musicians and singers, and all kinds of different people that would come over and play different instruments. And so, but yeah, I think that's what I was mainly surrounded by was mom with medical and dad with mostly music.
nice.
Hmm.
Cool.
Yep.
Johnny.
Uh-huh.
Well, Johnny, you said your mom was a florist.
Well, my mom went to school to become a florist.
Okay.
Before that, she worked like at a convalescent hospital, which was kind of those are the kind of jobs that were around. It
Yeah.
was a different time though when I was a kid because I remember my grandma on my dad's side, my grandpa and my grandma, they worked at the same company. It was called Ball Brothers, and they made bottles, glass bottles.
Ooh.
They still make bottles. You could probably find Ball Brother stuff, but like there was and then my aunt, who was my grandma's sister, she worked there too. I mean, it was like back then there were some companies where you have the whole family working there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
that's a
my
thing.
dad, my dad, he worked as a like an engineering technician, and my mom, she went to school to actually learn how to do. She's always very artistic, so she went to school to actually learn how to actually do flower arrangements, and then she started working for one of the teachers that was her one of the teachers there at I think she went to Mount San Antonio College for
Hmm.
learning that. And then one of the instructors there hired her because she was actually had his own shop. And then she started her own business from home. So it was kind of cool because she had a whole room with nothing but spray paint and ribbons and you name it, right? I mean, me and my sister would just,
Like me.
mess around with it.
I have one of those.
The
But it was a
crafts
different
room.
time. There was a lot of jobs where you could be there for your whole lifetime. You know what I mean? Like
True.
people would be um yeah, like I said, they could retire with that company. It's not that way anymore. It's
Yeah.
kind of sad
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
it's too bad.
times change.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I mean, how well have you guys in what you've observed with people, like a lot of people around you like switch jobs and kind of go into different things? I'm seeing a lot of nods of yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot
Annie
of
is
people
nodding her
just
head
go from
yes.
one company,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
within the same, like the computer industry is a perfect example. You have
Yeah.
people that they move from this company to that company to this company back to the original company. It's like they get shuffled around the industry because nobody wants to move them up. It's more of lateral moves.
Yeah.
And it's selfishness really, because what it is instead of hiring within for a higher up position, all they care about is like, well, if we give you that position, even though you can do it and you've earned it, we're gonna have to find someone to take your old job.
Right.
And it's like a headache for the company, and it's
Mhm.
really sucks because they'd
Yeah.
rather hire from outside
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
than have to figure out how to replace you. And it's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you see that a lot in the computer industry.
Eh,
So
yeah. I mean, I know for me, so I mean, I work in higher education. And it's a lot of that too. Like a lot, like for real in like the past 3 weeks or so, I've heard of like one, two, three. There's like three, four people that have like either went to another department in the university or have just left completely. But it's like they don't, and it takes a long time to hire new people. So now, like
Right.
me and like other staff are stuck like having to pick up more of the slack because they haven't hired a new person. But yay, job. So fun.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, well let's keep going with the circle. Annie, what kinds of jobs did people have around you growing up?
Okay, so I was at the mall primarily, and my brother, he worked at 7-Eleven, and I always used to worry so much for him because, my
Hmm.
brother's not very like he's so um he's just not he's not strong, he's not
Ouch.
tall, he's
Sorry.
just
Sorry
just a
to Annie's
little
brother.
bit taller than me, like maybe 4 or 5 inches taller than me, so he wasn't like the most intimidating of them all. So working at 7-Eleven, I used to worry like, oh
For
my
his
god, you're gonna
safety.
get robbed, you're gonna get
Mm.
robbed, you're gonna get robbed. I was so worried for him. And he and his other friend, his like best friend at the time, they were like super nerds, and his best friend wore these glasses, and I always felt like, oh my god, they're easy targets. They're gonna be easy targets. So worried for them. But they came away from that job unscathed, which was kind of nice. I was like, oh, thank God. And then he ended up going to school, and then got a better job later. But then my mom worked in data entry someplace. All I remember her was saying that, she didn't know how to use her computer at one time. I'm going, what do you mean you don't know how to use your
Aw.
computer? Yeah, and I felt so bad. And I go, like at the time we had an IBM, right, computer. So she was like, can you show me how to use the computer? And I said, Mom, they're supposed to train you. And she was like, I don't know how. And I go, but this might not be what you have at work. It's hard to explain to the older generations that kind of stuff. So even then, I was like, Mom, this might not be the same kind of computer. Yeah, it's almost the same. Anyway, so she did data entry for years and years. But weirdly, before that, this stays so vividly in my mind because I used to think that's your job. Because before she went into computers, I remember driving her. Me and my dad and my brother would be in the car backseat, right, and we'd watch my dad drive my mom to work. Sometimes we would literally wait there almost 8 hours. I kid you not,
Ah.
because we only had one car,
Ah.
and I don't know why we were there. I'm like, why are we here? Why are we watching mom? Like my mom was folding clothes in a factory, literally in a factory, like
Oh
a little
wow.
sweat house, or
Mm.
sweatshop, basically, folding clothes. And I was so sad. I said, I mean, I was a young age, but I had a wherewithal to know that that's unnatural, right? That's unnormal. That's not what she should be doing at her
Hmm.
age, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was really weird. It was so juxtaposed, to see her doing this kind of job when, I know that she was going to school for computers and things like that. So I just thought it was really weird. Why are you folding clothes? And then she would lie when we would pick her up and,
Oh.
Mom, what were you doing? I would ask, I saw you like folding clothes. Oh no, I was sewing, or I was
No.
this or I was that. No, she was not. She was folding clothes, and it made me really, really sad. My dad, on the other hand, wow, I have so many vivid memories. Let me just tell you, because I remember my dad took me and my brother. We were in tow when he went to go look for jobs, a
Oh
job.
wow.
I just remember, yeah, him hitting the business or the industrial areas, and he would go literally from job to job, or from business to business to
Office
business
to
to business,
office, yeah.
filling out applications. And I just remember he had worked for a company called Wolf Range, a WOLF, Wolf Range, and they are the people that make these industrial ranges and ovens and stoves for restaurants and hotels and whatnot. So I remember he actually go. I actually remember him going to these companies and filling out applications, and I just remember him one day coming to me saying, "Oh, I got hired," and I thought, "Oh, which one?" And he was trying to tell me, and I couldn't make heads or tails of which one he applied for. So, but he had been there for close to 40 years.
Oh wow.
And I remember on his 25th anniversary or something, he got a gold watch. So that was my model.
Wow.
Believe it or not, that he was my model. My dad was my model. And I had always said that I wanted to work for a company for 20 something years and get a gold watch. and and today, funny you should mention that, you guys earlier talking about jumping from job to job to job to job, because today you can't do that. You can't work in a place for 20 something years. You can't even work at a place more than 5 to 10 years without being scrutinized, because they're wondering why are you there that long. And I remember just recently, a recent boss asked me, he looked at my resume, can you explain, the gap between your job from this and da 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 da, and why are you only there for so many years? And my answer to him, right off the cuff, was, in today's industry with a lot of startups, things are changing, technology is changing.
Yeah.
You'll be lucky to find anybody there longer than 5 years. And he was like, you're absolutely right. And that's kind of the way of the world, the way it's changed now. You can't be, if you're stagnant more than 5 6 years, upwards of 10, that's, it's not problematic, but it's they look at you and they wonder, like, are you just waiting to retire? In my age, probably now. But yeah, at the time it was like, I wanted to be like my dad. I wanted to have those longevity jobs, but now I'd be lucky to be there, 5 years or so. But that was the world around me. So my brother impacted me with his, being at this 7-Eleven,
7-Eleven.
thinking I would never see him again the next day, and then my mom with her folding clothes, that was strongly impacting me. And I always said that I would not want to do that kind of job. And I, made it a goal, a life goal, to be a lifelong learner and to continue, on with my path. And then watching my dad had strong work ethic. So he, those were my patterns, and I wanted to make sure that I was either like them or not like them. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that does make sense. It is interesting though too, because yeah, like I think for a lot of us growing up, we saw our parents or other adults stay in a job for 5, 10 decades, however long, and like retire. Um,
Mhm.
and and then you do bring up an interesting point too, Annie, that like nowadays people don't really do that. And like,
Mhm.
I mean, for me, like, I guess, well, like, so with the job I have now, like, I'm like, okay, like, I want to stay in this. Like, it's pretty stable. I honestly don't have much of a desire to leave. And maybe that's just because I'm like, this is kind of.
But you say that now.
I
but,
know that's true. It's I don't know.
But I mean, wait 5 years and you didn't get a raise or
That's
at all.
true.
I mean,
That's yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true because we can.
Yeah.
This job is able to sustain us for right now, but then things things will happen in life and more expenses. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I don't know.
Just wondering, has anyone here, have you ever worked for one company for longer than 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
I have.
question. That's a really good question.
I
Yeah,
I
mean,
have.
I have. Only one job that I've worked,
Me
13
too.
years with one company. Yeah,
what were the
that's like
what was it?
insane
What
nowadays.
What
13
was your
years.
job, Johnny? And then we'll ask Wifey.
the computer industry, just
Oh, okay,
with
okay.
a computer manufacturer. That's the longest because usually it was always 5 years with
Yeah.
any company. After about 5 years, it's like move on,
Yeah.
time to move
Mm-hmm.
on. I don't know,
Same.
but and that's just the way it is with a lot of companies. They don't
Right.
last, or they sell out to another company. They
Mm-hmm.
merge.
Mm-hmm.
They want to clean house. It's like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
Right.
What was
Mine
yours,
was
Wifey? Mhm.
it used to be called Prestige Portraits in the beginning.
Ooh.
Actually no, I'm lying. It was Bryn Allen. That's what it was called at first. It was called Bryn Allen. It was photography. I worked there for maybe 2 to 3 years, and that's when the company did get bought out. um, and now it is called Prestige Portraits, or it's also called Life Touch. So it's Prestige Portraits by Life Touch.
Oh,
Ah,
I've seen Life
It's what
Touch.
you
Yeah.
see like with the kids
for school.
Yeah.
portraits for
Kids'
Yeah.
portraits
school.
for school. Yeah.
But our main photography place here was solely for high schools. So we
Okay.
did everything from and I don't know if you guys remember this back in high school when we did the personality portraits, best dressed, class
Oh,
clown,
yeah,
all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
yeah.
We would
Yearbook.
go to the schools and set up like in their either in their gym, or some of them had like their little um, what do you call it, like a little theater room or whatever, like on a stage. So we did that a lot, and then we did the proms for all the
Ah.
high schools in our area, and then at the studio itself we did all the senior portraits.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
you know how in the yearbook you see all the colored ones with the little black
Right.
drape that goes
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
With the
Yeah, we even
feathers, the
did like
boas.
back then. Yeah, we used to do the feather boas. We used to do the leather
Yes.
jacket.
Wow.
Yeah, we did all that. So and I worked there for many years, and I miss it a lot. The only downfall is the schools had like deadlines, so we
Yeah.
had to get everything done before the yearbooks would get sent off to get printed.
Mhm.
So we, if let's say one school had, personality portraits they wanted, and then their prom, sometimes they'll have other events that they
It's
wanted
like a
us to go
quick
to.
turnaround. Yeah.
We did all the sports as well. So I know a little bit, like when you guys talk about sports and stuff, like I don't watch it or anything like that, but I know a little bit because I had to photograph it. So,
Oh,
you
right.
kind of just learn by just going to every game. And
Yeah.
I mean, I did everything from like lacrosse to volleyball, um, basketball, baseball. I mean, pretty much every sport that the school had to offer, we were pretty much there. We would take pictures of the teams, which kind of sucks sometimes because if I didn't get there at the beginning of the game, I'd have to get their team shot at the end of the game. And if they didn't win that game,
They're
they
all
wouldn't
sad.
smile for their pictures.
Oh,
So, yeah. Or I would
sorry.
get yelled at by the coach because they wouldn't want, like, they'd be like yelling at them in the locker room, like, because they lost the game. And I'd be in there like, oh, hi, I got to take your picture.
Oh my gosh.
So,
All the
yeah,
sisters are like,
yeah, they would all be like pissed off and like sweaty and like
Yeah.
gross and like but sometimes I had deadlines, so I was like, look, if I don't take your picture today, you're not getting in the yearbook. So I'd have no choice. And
Threatened.
sometimes it was my own fault, but at the same time, I mean, I worked until like 9 o'clock at night at the studio, and then literally like change at work to jeans and like a work shirt, and get my equipment and drive and run and get there to the game. And sometimes with the same traffic, I'd miss it. I'd miss them warming up, and that's when you're supposed to get their team shots.
Hmm.
So but yeah, I mean, everything that the school pretty much had, we did. Even extra things like swimming, we would do that too. We would go and do their swim meets and stuff like that. And so I stayed there for many, many years. And it was kind of cool because you would see like all these trends, like for example, the leather jacket and boa, and like
Right.
nowadays they don't do that anymore. Like
Nope.
that's not
There's
that's not even an
none.
option.
Mm-mm.
Now the kids bring outfits. They're allowed to bring like four
Hmm.
or five outfits, and then they can change. Sometimes the kids would bring like whatever they were into. So if they were a cheerleader, they'd bring their cheerleading outfit and take pictures in their
Right.
cheerleading outfit, or you know
Yeah.
whatever they were into. So but Yeah, I was there for many, many years. Did all kinds of different photography. I mean, we even had a garage door that would open, and if it was a senior and they just got their first car, they'd bring in their car and take pictures with their car.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. What
We had
did they lay out like
motorcycles.
that? No, I'm just
Yeah, they would lay on the hood of their
No,
car.
I was
Oh
kidding.
yeah, no, I'm not kidding.
No.
Yeah.
No. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
We'd have
Supermodel.
ladders and we'd get up on the ladders and shoot down. And so like you'd see like them like this, like on their car and stuff.
Oh
And
my lord.
we had motorcycles we shot as well. We would take tape and we'd put it on the ground and we'd get like, you know what, that glue, that little jar was like really smelly, that kids glue or whatever, I don't know, Elmer's glue, but it was like in a jar. It had like a little brush attached to it. It was super flammable and it was really dangerous. And I don't know how we got away with it, but
Rubber
we
cement.
would,
Rubber cement.
yes,
Rubber
yes.
cement.
We
Yeah,
would
yeah.
we would put that on a piece of tape on the ground. And then I'd be up in the ladder ready to go with my camera and I'd have somebody waiting and like I'd pose the kid how I wanted him and like
You'd
on
light
his
it on
motorcycle real
fire.
cool. And then I would tell the person with the lighter, okay, go. And they would light the whole tape and the whole thing would be like whoosh, like on fire. And like I would have like a couple seconds to snap like the pictures. Yeah, like we did all kinds of things.
Bruh.
Like
Wow.
there was even kids who came in that were like part of like a fire department or like I don't know, they would be like into something with the fire department training or like early classes or something they did. And they would come with their full like firefighter outfit and we would do all kinds of things with fire because of course, you know, that's what they did. So
Oh my god.
and we would have them like hold like a thing and like we had like fire like in their hands. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Oh
like
my
that
God.
stuff obviously now is not allowed,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
back
yeah, of
then,
course,
I mean, we got
sure.
away with it. Yeah, we got away with it.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
But
So what?
that was my longest
If
job.
they buy those photographs or they buy that yearbook, anything goes.
Right.
So what?
Yeah.
What made you leave, wifey?
I got pregnant and
Oh.
I was actually still working up until I was pretty big and my boss, she was amazing. She was an amazing boss. And so she was like, look, I'm sorry, but I cannot send you over to these games because you're on the sidelines and these kids, they're in the zone, especially like football and stuff. Like
That's
they're in the
true.
zone. They don't care if you're in the way. Like they will
Right.
ram you. They don't
They'll
care.
run you over.
Right. And so and plus when you're when you're looking in the camera, things appear farther, but they're
Yeah.
actually a lot closer to you. So she was like, look, you know, I can't do this. Like, I'm so scared that something's going to happen to you and, you know, you're pregnant and this and that. So I worked pretty much just like front desk for a good while while I was pregnant. And then once I had my son, I that's when I decided to be a stay-at-home mom and be with him. So that's why I left. It was very sad. And now it's funny because now it's again has changed their staff, the people, even my boss that I had isn't there anymore. So now it's like I don't even know anyone who works there anymore. And you know, it was pretty sad because it was a really cool team that we had as well. But yeah, so that's why I left. I was very sad. I miss it. I miss it all the time. I really do. I really do miss it.
Yeah, that's what's interesting too. Is like, I mean, a big thing with jobs is like life things. You know, starting a family or like if you're moving somewhere else. Like I know a lot of people that have taken jobs out of state, moved to another part of the country for their job and things. So we are gonna continue on, and we're gonna do our fun facts with Wifey. But before that, I did also want to ask DJB about his experience of jobs that people had around you growing up, and just how I don't know. It's interesting to hear about, you know, the things especially that our parents had to do to raise us and support us and how we continued from there.
Yeah, well, going back to what I said, like when I started Big Five, since they were looking for new salespeople, they also hired two of my close friends along with me. So it was me, my friend Ronald, and my friend Julian, and we were all working at the same store for the most part, and and that would get kind of annoying, because then like our boss would try to like get us to compete against each other, and he would say like. Yeah, Daniel Julian actually sold 13 pairs of clearance shoes today. Kind of like, just, even though it was totally a lie, because I know he wasn't that good of a salesman. He, but yeah, like that's. But yeah, that was actually pretty much our collective first job, being my two other friends. But the jobs that like my family had, my sister's a social worker, and she got into social work pretty early on. I remember one of her first jobs was, or she was like working at a welfare office or something like that in Richmond. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Richmond, California, that's a pretty ghetto city. Like that's and you want to see the movie Coach Carter with Samuel L. Jackson? That was set in Richmond.
Okay.
Yeah, Richmond, Oakland, Vallejo, those are pretty hood cities. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I grew up in a pretty hood city.
No, you never mentioned that.
Palo Alto is pretty bad too, right? You told me that.
Yeah. Well, what's funny?
You don't say, DJ. You don't say.
What's funny though is that at that office that my sister worked at in Richmond, they had on the wall, it was like framed. It was Tupac's application for welfare.
No,
I've never heard this story before, y'all. This is whoa.
Is that new?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. It signed Tupac Shakur. He applied for welfare at that office. So anyway, that was
a violation of HIPAA laws.
Right?
Well, he's dead, so I mean,
Not if he was denied.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Oh, snap.
They're like, dig that up.
my goodness.
Dig that up from the files. Frame it.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
I don't know what kind of message to get from that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
so that's what my sister did, and she's still doing social work now. My mom was very much a corporate woman of the 80s. Corporate America was booming back then, and she bought straight into it. Like she worked for Levi's jeans, that company. She was working at the corporate office in San Francisco. I don't know exactly what it was that she did, but
Accounts.
sales
Accounts.
She would deal with sales accounts with like Levi's, with like
Bloomingdale's or whatever retailers.
the mall stores like JCPenney and Macy's and all that stuff. I just knew she traveled every so often. But she loved her job, and you guys were talking about like those long-term jobs that you can live your whole life in. Like that's really pretty much what she did. That was one of her first jobs, and she retired at that job because she loved that job so much. My mom's very much still very much a corporate-minded individual. And she still, like, if you ask her to tell you about her time at Levi's, she'll talk your ear off, because those were her favorite days. But that and my dad is a pastor, so
So that's who we apologize to. His
yes, actually that's true.
Now we're gonna have to say DJ's pastor.
Yeah, my
DJ's dad.
pastor.
It's an ongoing thing in our stream. Yeah.
Yeah, and he also is the founder of a nonprofit organization that deals with the underserved community. But but yeah, like growing up and seeing my dad as a pastor, like that type of job was very unconventional, because in a lot of ways it's like you're not just like somebody that's running a church, but you're also like a community leader in a lot of ways, where, say for instance, like there's like two people within the church that's fighting. He's the first person that they call and stuff like that, or somebody like gets a heart attack, he has to rush to the hospital to be there, to be there to comfort and pray with the family and stuff like that. So it's a very small, community church. It's always been, and yeah, and that was like, so I had a very unconventional job and a very like corporate job, and my dad and my mom as examples, and they're both like very much involved in their jobs. So so me, as somebody who's not really like the type of person that likes to be involved in work too much, like I'm not a very workaholic, corporate-minded person.
That's kind of unusual because they have very different jobs.
Yeah.
Because like your dad, a community leader, it's almost like being a parent. You never clock out. Like a
Right.
stay-at-home mom, you never clock out. You're always on
Nope.
call, like a doctor in that sense. Whether for
It's
the
true.
community, if you're like a pastor, community leader, same thing with your parent. It never ends. You know what I mean? I'll be 80 years old and I'll still worry about my kids probably. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like never goes away.
Yeah.
But for them to have such different type of jobs, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, and later on, DJ's mom retired from Levi's, and she was also working in the nonprofit stuff too. So they were like, his parents,
Yeah,
like
they
they
did-
were working together a
They
lot.
work together. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Nice.
But so yeah, so we've talked about kind of jobs in the past and what we've seen. I also wanna get into spilling some tea about some best jobs, worst jobs, horrible bosses, things like that. I'll have some stories to talk about. We could all kind of start thinking about those things. I know Annie has a lot of tea to spill. So,
That's a whole podcast in and of itself.
Annie talks her jobs. But before that, we have our fun segment that we like to do, which is Fun Facts with Wifey. And why don't you take it away?
Sure.
School us
So
on
this
some
time I'm reading
facts.
it from my phone, so I'm sorry if I'm looking down, but I just decided to screenshot some stuff that I found. Let's see. One of these facts I found, it says that people are much happier and more likely to fulfill their duties on a Friday. So that's kind of a given, right? Everybody hates Mondays and the start of the week, and I guess you think about the weekend, you're like, yes, like let's just get this day going, and
Right.
I mean,
I'm
that is
lazy
kind of
on
true.
Fridays. I'm so lazy. No one wants to do
Right.
anything.
See, I feel like let's just get the work done so
Don't
that
schedule a
weekend
meeting on a
can come around.
Friday.
Wait, are you saying they're more productive on Fridays? Oh,
They say
I
they're
beg to
happier
differ. Oh, happier. Okay.
and likely to fulfill their duties. So maybe they are a
Okay.
little bit more productive.
Yeah. Okay.
It does say if you work 40 hours a week up until you're 65 years old, you will work just over 90,000 hours in your lifetime.
Wow.
So think about that. That's a
I
lot.
I can't wrap my brain around that right now. Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And I thought this was kind of cool. Leonardo da Vinci is credited with writing the first resume.
Ah.
Really?
Shout out to him.
Ooh, I'd like to
I thought
see
that was
that.
cool. Right?
I would love to see that.
And then, hold on, bear with me. I have something else here.
That's a great fact.
Have you guys heard about how they want to change it to a 4-day work week?
Yes, I heard like a 410 work week.
Yeah. I don't know. If
I think
it'll
they're
go
trying to
through.
make that.
He says no.
I used to work a 4-day 10-hour work week. It's like you're so exhausted, you waste a whole day basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another problem is like that 10th hour is the longest hour ever.
I bet.
It's the longest hour. It's like time stands still, and it sucks.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They
it's
say
just
that it's supposed to be better work-life balance. I don't.
Nope.
I don't think so. I personally don't think so.
I did it for a
No.
year
Did you?
when I was going to college. Yeah, no, like
Lord.
I worked 3 days out of the week, 10-hour shifts. So I worked 3 days. I went to school all week, and it was their 10-hour days. That was only 30 hours, and it was killing me. It was bad.
Wow. And then I have another one that I thought was pretty interesting. It says that 41% of job seekers search for jobs while in bed. 30% while at work, so at your current job.
Yeah.
Well,
Use the company time.
Okay.
Ultimate motivator.
No, it is. Yeah,
Company's
it's true.
Computer.
I'll show you.
To look for other jobs. And 18% from a restroom.
Ew. Okay. Okay. TMI. It's a little.
I mean, that's the facts.
That's a fact, Annie. You got to deal with it.
That's
Okay?
the facts right there.
I can see from your bed, maybe. I can see from your job, y'all. I know y'all are guilty. I'm one of those, but I can't see from the toilet.
You
No,
gotta
no.
you gotta do it one better, and then like poop on company time,
Right?
and then look for another job. You gotta
So
you
true.
know, F you to the job. Nice.
That's funny. That's hilarious.
Let's see. And then I have this one. Hold on. This is so different doing it from my phone.
It's okay. It is interesting
Keep
too,
going.
like what Annie, you were talking about your dad and how he would go like to a business park and then like go to each like place to like find a job. Where it's like now, I mean, the last time I was in the job market was like 3 years ago. 3 years ago ish, and so it's like it's just all like LinkedIn and like
I know.
Indeed, and you like
Yeah.
upload your resume on the
Right.
thingy, and then like what I hated was they have their own application, but then they're
Oh,
like
God, I
then they're
hate
like
that.
here, upload your resume. I'm like, it's the same thing. Why
I
can't I just send you the
know.
resume and then
Well,
just
well,
That's
yeah.
annoying.
I hate the ones where you upload and they still make you type in everything.
yeah.
It's like, what? Why? What's the point of that? What is
They
the
want to
absolute
make sure you
point
can
of
read
that?
and write.
Oh my gosh! I
Yeah.
literally. Oh God!
I think
You
that's
know
what it is because
you
they
know what I
always
do?
ask you to.
You know what I do when it comes to that?
Copy
Exit.
paste.
No,
Oh.
exit. I'm like, no. If
You're gonna like
no.
this story really fast. I had a friend. He's a technical guy, so he works. He has a technical job, computer related, right? So they hired this guy to be a DBA, database administrator, and then the guy who showed up isn't the same guy who interviewed and they hired,
Oh my
and then they
what?
don't know what to do because he's not the same guy. Like it's like a different guy showed up
Oh,
for the job after they hired him, and they were just like,
What?
I've never
"What do you
heard of
do?
that.
You never heard of that?"
That's crazy.
Imposter. That's like
Yeah,
somebody
it's like a
taking your
doppelganger
SAT.
or
Yeah, it's
whatever
like
they
somebody
call it.
taking your SAT tests.
Well, I have a
So what
family
did they
member where
do?
somebody else took the classes for her, and she got her degree. I won't name names, okay? But she basically never went
that
to
what it's
school.
called?
Her brother did, and he doesn't have the degree. She does, but he did everything basically.
That's wild.
Isn't that
System's messed up.
scandalous?
Oh.
Like you have a degree in your name, it's on hanging on the wall. You didn't even do a single class.
Wait, are
Your
you
brother
serious?
did. Yeah, she paid
Con-
her brother to go.
Conjunction is saying that replacement interview, kind of like baseball, you have someone run the bases for you. Is that a thing? Oh my god! No, I'm kidding. I thought it was a. Okay, I'm not talking to you. block. No, I'm just kidding.
I got you.
What? Oh, I was about to say.
Because- Well, let me clarify. Some schools you don't have to go in for the tests. Like you still got to go to class, but like when it comes to taking your I won't say what university, what Cal State it is, but there's some schools where you don't have to actually be in there to take your midterms or take your finals.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
snap. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Okay, and I have just a few more here, just real quick.
Yeah.
And I'll just go through these. So this one, I kind of searched a little bit deeper to find like what the most disgusting job that would pop up.
Yeah.
And
Let's go.
I basically found a maggot farmer.
Yeah.
that sounds like fun. That sounds like fun.
No,
Right?
no.
I can think
came
of
out
worse
as one
jobs
of the
than that.
grossest.
No.
There was also a portable potty toilet cleaner.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Oh, okay.
Give me the
thanks.
maggots.
No thanks.
Give me the maggots.
Yeah, I told you the maggots one sounds good, right?
There was also a pee collector for animals.
Nice.
Oh.
You guys are like,
If you like animals enough.
There's a manure inspector.
Ew.
Nice.
Whose manure?
Like cows?
It's for fertilizer.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I was gonna say.
But they have to inspect it to make sure that it has nutrients that helps the crops grow.
So you gotta like do Jurassic Park and put those huge gloves on and like.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
Yikes.
Someone's got to
There's
do it.
a vomit collector,
Nice.
believe it or not,
Fun.
for
Oh,
amusement
no.
parks.
Fun.
Mhm.
Have you
See, everybody, just when you think your job's horrible, listen
Yes.
to this list.
Right.
humble yourself? Keep you in check,
There's
man.
clinical waste disposal workers for like hospitals and
Okay, I can
places.
see that.
What I want to
think
know is
that's
what's the average
somehow-
salary for each, though. You know what I'm saying?
I wish they would say. They don't say on here. I wish they did.
Don't laugh, but there's
Oh,
people that
man.
actually in San Francisco. There's people that go there and they pick up the poo. They like
Mm.
because
From
they'll
homeless?
they'll just go right there
Yeah.
in the street while
Yeah.
you're having your
Ugh.
burger with your family. They'll just go right in front of you,
Yeah.
like check me out. You know.
No, they spray him. They spray him down with these power hoses in LA. They don't play. They're like, no, heck.
Yeah, but
no.
do you want that job? What if it
No.
splashes in your face? You know,
Oh my god. Ew.
Then there's
backsplash. You want a backsplash, Annie? You want some backsplash? Nobody wants. I'll put goggles on, a whole suit. It's like I don't want any of
If
that.
it pays enough, though,
I'll
if
burn
it
the
pays
shoes
enough,
at the end of the day. That's disgusting.
Oh, snap.
Sorry, wifey. Go ahead.
No, you're
Sorry.
fine.
I'm so sorry.
There's a crime scene cleaner.
Fun. Yeah.
Ooh, Forensic.
So they got to clean up after everything's said and done there.
Mhm.
There's a
man.
sewer cleaner. So it's
Mhm.
cleaning the
Okay,
sewers.
No, I'm
Mhm.
good.
Oh
No.
man.
Embalmer came up. So I guess that's
Fun.
another
That's
Ah.
there's job security in
another
that.
crazy.
That's unfortunately true.
They have slaughterhouse workers.
Oh
seen
no,
those.
no.
There's-
I've seen those.
There's whale snot collector.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yes, I'm not kidding.
Wifey says it's true.
It's true.
What she says are
How?
facts, man.
Why?
It says
Oh
that
my
it's because they don't have access to their urine or blood. So the medicals and professionals and scientists test snot left behind
Oh
as
my
well as
God.
whales swim.
Nice.
So yeah, there's that
Ew.
one.
Whale swim?
What does that
Oh,
even
When they
look
swim,
like?
I guess they leave traces of snot, and I guess that's how they.
Oh.
Pick it up with a hefty bag or
So-
something. I got one. Pick it up. Oh, it's got on me. Oh, I got one. Oh, I got my mouth.
I don't know how they collect it, but they do somehow. There's a guano collector, like for bat
Bad crap.
droppings.
Oh man, that's.
I'm
a-
grossing out
Ah.
already. I wanted to
Um,
eat after this. So I don't know.
I was
There's
gonna
a-
eat. I was gonna eat after this. Thanks a lot, my friend.
There's a poop stirrer. Like,
Nice.
Oh my
You're
god.
literally just
Love
mixing
it.
it up. Yeah, like you're working at a lab, but that's an actual
Yeah.
job title.
Wasn't that from the Austin Powers movie, right? Where they're cooking the stool from
That sounds
the
very
one bad
familiar.
guy, and
I
then
have no
Austin accidentally
clue.
drinks it.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, and he's like, "This tastes like you know what?" And they're like, "It is Austin."
That sounds
Oh
so
my
familiar.
gosh.
And then he has another drink. He's like, "He's kind of nutty."
I remember that.
I do remember that.
That is someone's job, yes.
Yeah, that's all the fun facts that I have for today.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Those were fun.
That was great. I love it. Well, since we are talking, we've talked about a lot of crappy, kind of gross jobs. Let's keep it going. I want to hear about some of your. I mean, we can, whatever you want first. Best job, worst job, or
Oh my god.
best boss, worst boss. But I do want to hear some horror stories. Like,
Oh,
let's
do you
keep
have
it.
all night? Do you
Let's
have all night?
let's keep it going with some. Let's unpack that trauma. I mean, I mean, for me, like my jobs haven't been very. They haven't been terrible. Like I was let go from the nonprofit, the community organizing nonprofit, because they were just restructuring, and then I did a lot of like independent contractor stuff. So I did like wedding trade shows. That was cool. Except like they had this guy in there, and he had a temper. Like he was just like get really mad, and like he made like my coworker cry. Like they're like just it's just those kinds of personalities. But what I didn't like about that job was like I was brought on for like marketing, social media, but then they're like eventually not that long into it, they're just like, "Well, we're going to have you do sales." And I'm like, "This isn't what I signed up for, but I'll do it. Like I'm not bad at it." So there's that. It's like that happens a lot. I mean, even in my job now, it's like there's what I'm doing like evolves. Like it's because of whatever reason I'm doing more. I have more hats that I'm wearing than just what was on my description. But thankfully, bosses aren't so bad. But it is interesting just like finding out people's like work style, and like some people like are like micromanagers and like get on your case more than other people and things like that. Um, yeah. Anyone have any their what are you guys' experiences with some not so great jobs? Not so great people in
Okay,
your
I'll
jobs.
share this with you. No names. I'm not going to name the company. But there is one company when I was younger that I worked for where the manager was embezzling money,
What?
and
Yeah.
he actually got pulled out from the district manager and handcuffed, basically. And we'd
Dang.
always wonder, like, it's so crowded at work. We're getting slammed. Why aren't we getting enough coverage? Why? And he was the manager, so like a lot of times he would break the rules for you. Like, I'll count your till, don't worry about it. When you're supposed to count your till at the end of the day, kind of thing. Um, and yeah, he was embezzling money, and and it really sucked because we were slammed so much of the time.
Wow.
Did
And
you
we
know,
thought it
or
was like
like was it out
us.
of nowhere? Were you
No,
surprised? Not
not
surprised?
unclear, because with the manager they have special privileges on the computer and stuff like of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. But then yeah, it was a big scandal.
Dang.
And
That's wild.
Yeah. So that sucked. He was a nice guy too. I mean, he was a younger boss. He was probably one of the younger of all the managers of this coffee place.
Ooh, spicy.
So no, I'm just saying
Oh.
that yeah, it was a big scandal. He had been stealing probably tens of thousands of dollars a
Dang.
month
Got it.
from the company.
There's so many stories of people that just like for some reason that's how they handle the money in whatever company they're working in. Like they think that they're doing isn't bad.
Well, they
But
think it's justified. I even knew
yeah, yeah, yeah,
customers
yeah,
that would
Or
be
they
yeah.
like,
think
"Well,
they're
they
not going to
weren't
get
paying him
caught,
enough."
is the
Yeah.
thing.
And
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
like, you know what do you mean they're not paying them enough? Nothing justifies, because we as the workers are the ones suffering.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have lines out the door all night long, and we're like, why aren't we getting enough coverage?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's why, because he's pulling money out of that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Wow.
Bleh.
So, anyways,
Wow.
to me, that's just a betrayal, not just on the company but the employees.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I mean, s- I don't know. I mean, I've had really good managers, some very critical managers, but it's like the good comes with the bad. It depends on the particular job you're working at. I appreciate people that are just straight up honest. You know,
Yeah.
I could deal with the truth. Just be honest, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
like people that are full of it. They don't want to like, just be real, because we
Right.
are in the real world basically. You know.
That's true.
Um, but like I always say, People do not quit jobs. You may love your job. People quit people. That's the truth.
Say it again louder for the people in the back.
People don't quit jobs. People quit people. So you may love the job you do, but some of the
Yeah.
people that you have to deal with or work with, upper management, direct bosses, you quit them. I mean,
Right.
that's one thing to remember. People quit people, not jobs. So
Yeah.
keep
I
that in
have to
mind.
say, I remember too, something kind of like what happened to Johnny. I don't know if I should share the name or not because they shut down anyway, so I don't think it matters. I don't
Yeah, it
care.
doesn't matter.
They were
Go
called
ahead.
Model Search. They were called Model Search America, and
Ah.
I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it was based out of
Like a
somewhere in Miami.
Barbizon.
It, not really. So what it was this huge building, tons of people working there. We worked in little cubicles. Had several managers, and we had like a script that we had to read, and we would get these calls from all kinds of different people from different states, and they would go on the website. They would fill out like a questionnaire or whatever, why they want to be a model. They had to upload a picture of themselves. Um, and so they would give us a call, and we would have this script that we read. But when we read it, we had to make it as if we weren't reading. Like you couldn't sound like you were reading something. So you had
Yeah.
to kind of like take a lot of pauses in between. Ask questions and stuff like that. And so we would look at the picture that they would send us. We would see it on our computer. And then we would ask them, questions about why they wanted to model and, if they ever had an experience, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And so we would basically prepare them to, at the end of the call, we would let them know if they were going to get selected or not. And we would select them right then and there if they got selected or not. And if they did, then we would have to talk to their parents over the phone. We would
my
get one of the
goodness.
managers involved. The manager would be there too, talking to them and whatnot. And then they would have to pay somewhat of a little over $1,000, and it was to basically cover them for a hotel stay at this hotel somewhere in Vegas. And there would be all these different agencies that would go to this one big event. And one of the ones that we would always tell them is, I don't know if you guys know who Janice Dickinson is. She was like one of the first models or whatever back in the day.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know.
She would be there. She's like really rude. Like they show her on TV being like really rude to people, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she would be there supposedly. I don't know because I never got to go to the event, but apparently she would go there. And a bunch of other agencies, and they would have to go to this event. They would have to bring a portfolio of pictures. So they'd have to go agency by agency, show their portfolio. They'd have to have some kind of talent or something that they were going to do, whether it be acting or singing or whatever talents they had. They would have to also do that in front of some judges or whatever. So the weirdest part was, there was so many of us workers, and I remember people would fight over like the calls that we would get. Like if it came from like Canada or something, like people knew that like that was like a good area and like people had money there. So like they would give it to like the people who like has worked there the longest, or people who were really good at closing and would get that money at the end of the call, but it was really sad because people would call and I'd be like, okay, give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and run this over with my manager. And we're going to see if we're going to pick you for this event. I'm so excited for you, blah, blah, blah. And then we put them on hold and we would just sit there.
Wow.
We weren't talking to no manager. We weren't nothing. We would just sit there. We would talk amongst each other and whatnot, and put these people on hold. And I'd come back and be like, "You still there? Okay, yeah, we're going ahead. We're still talking. I'll be right back." And it was just a way to get them like excited and like wanting to like do this. And so finally, I'd come back on the phone with them and tell them like, "Oh my God, we picked you. Like, we want you to come to this event, blah, blah, blah." But really it's just to get that money. Like, and the thing is that later on I found out that event was actually free. Okay, like you didn't have to pay
Dirty.
to go. Like it was one of those like on the radio they'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, if you want your child to be in this Disney movie
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
come to these auditions, right? So it was kind of like something like that.
What a
So
Oh.
scam.
yeah, it was a huge scam. And then
God.
Oh.
and I started noticing as I started working there more and more, like little things that were coming about and things that people were saying, and it was just something fishy was going on. Like I just knew that something was off.
Right.
The fact that we were doing that too, that we were lying to these people, and then we would get people too that if they weren't like the specific like size or weight or whatever, like we'd
Yeah.
have to be like, I'm sorry, like, and I'd feel bad because we'd have to tell them like, you know what, maybe if you lose a little bit of weight and like try again, like, yeah. And I would feel so bad for these kids, like, you know,
Wow.
yeah. And then I don't know, I think I was there for maybe like 2 or 3 months max, and one day I get to work like any other regular day, and I see everybody outside of
Oh
the
no.
building. And I'm like, why is everybody outside? I'm like, usually everybody's inside already at their desks and whatnot.
Nope.
And I get there and they're passing out cups, plastic cups to everybody.
Oh.
And I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, take a look inside. And we like look in the window. Everything was gone. Computers, everything, literally
What?
from one night to the next, like
What?
from one day.
What the heck?
Everything was gone. Apparently, there had been some kind of investigation. I don't know if it came. We don't know exactly where it came from. We don't know if it came from one of the parents, maybe somebody who worked with, maybe an investigator themselves or something. Who knows? But it came from somewhere, and they started pouring champagne, I think it was, to everybody, and was like, good luck to your next job. And
Oh
Wow.
and we never got our last paycheck. That was another thing. We never got our last paycheck because they apparently disappeared. The owners of the company disappeared. The managers of the company disappeared. Like we didn't know anything about anybody. And then I think later on, they ended up getting caught. And I remember seeing some kind of article online that they got fined for thousands and thousands of dollars. And I think they were saying that they were able to. They were, I think, starting to pay like people, or maybe the recent people who they still had contacts with or whatever. They were starting to pay them. I never heard anything or got a paycheck or anything like that, and I tried, but it was just kind of a lost cause. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. I mean, literally from one day to the next, like they just took all their crap and disappeared. Yeah, I was like, oh no. And I remember driving back home and they're like, why are you back? Aren't you supposed to be at work?
Let me tell you.
So yeah. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Dang.
Mhm.
That's that reminds me of like the wedding fair job that I had, where like, because there's a lot of sales, and like, I mean, I'm just like, I have to sell a table at a fair show thingy, and like some people, like, they don't have that kind of money, but I'm like, I just have to like keep like bugging them about it. Or like there's people and they're in like some kind of multi-level marketing thing, and like I'm like just kind of grabbing more money from them. Like, I don't know, I felt bad because it's like, I know that they're, whatever business side hustle they're doing, like it's probably not making them enough money, but here I am trying to ask for more money from them, and like the promise that they could make more, but it's like, it's not gonna, I don't know. It's not gonna happen.
It's a
Right.
scam, y'all.
And
Yeah, that's a terrible feeling, when you
yeah,
believe like in what you're doing somewhat, or you
That there's
take some
something
pride.
wrong.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, when you have that itch, like this isn't right, or you know what I mean, it's like it's like me. I've dealt with every possible situation, so dealing with customers is nothing. I
yeah,
dealt with every situation, right? I'm numb to it all. But like it's like you gotta kind of feel good about what you're doing, like what you're doing, what company you're working for, what they stand for in the sense.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes work so much better
yeah,
to be able to actually, take pride in it.
Yeah.
Like take pride in what you do. You know what? Every job I've ever had, I've always really taken pride. It doesn't matter what it is or how short I worked it. I see that with a lot of younger kids, they don't. Everything's like whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I just fell into this job. It's like it doesn't give an excuse not to do a good job or try to be your
Not to
best.
give your best. Yeah.
Yeah, that really pisses me off when I see, these kids. They're on the phone. They're trying to help you. They could give a shit about helping you or not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're
Right.
just
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, and it's also it's not always it's not just on the employee, the worker, because it's like the management and the bigger company itself has its own sketchy practices and doesn't treat their people as well. So it's yeah,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's ah,
You
that's
feel
tough.
bad. You really do. And I felt too like I'd ask questions sometimes, like, how come we don't really like have you guys talk to them, or how come? And they're like, well, that's just the way it is, and like they like cut you off, and like, or I'd ask questions, and they're just like,
Mm.
read your script. That's all I got to tell you. Like they just wouldn't even give you like an answer. And I used to be like, God, I'm like,
That's
this doesn't feel right. Like I feel like I'm lying to all these people, like, and they're kids. The thing is that they're kids, so you feel even worse
Mm-mm.
you know
That's
and so I would try to like accept as many kids as I could, but then a lot of parents don't have $1,000 to just be like, sure, here you go,
Right.
like,
Right.
and that wouldn't cover their flights either, so they'd still have to come
Mm.
up with money to fly to Vegas if they didn't live there.
Dang.
dang. If it was
So
free. Ugh.
I know, well, I mean, they'd still have to, I mean, if you think about it, if they did go to the event for free, they'd still have to pay for their flight, they'd still have to pay for hotel,
Yeah.
and they were supposedly covering the hotel portion
Yeah. And it's a long
with
shot. I mean,
$1,000.
Well,
So
they probably justify it with like, well, we're providing the information, the know-how, the time, the
right,
date that they don't have.
yeah.
But
I
still, come
guess
on, it's free.
I
It's
know.
free. It's like someone is giving away free mustard or free ketchup, and I grab it all, and I'm over here selling it for 20 cents a packet.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
DJB, tell us about your work tea.
My work
Spill
tea?
it, spill it.
DJB, tell us about your work
Spill it.
tea.
Well, I mean,
Spill it.
when you guys are talking about like how the business practices from the top down like can just be so shady. I hate to say it, but like one of my worst jobs really was my first job as an audiovisual technician, and I feel bad saying that because like a good friend of mine got me that job. He was in a management position at that job, and management I didn't have an issue with. For me, it was the people above management and the people at my level that were the issue. Like the people above management, kind of like the management's hands were tied when it came to dealing with us like actual technicians, because the people above them were the ones that decided like just the way they ran things, and what was bad about that job that I had was that the hours were just like I would have an 8-hour shift, but I as an audiovisual technician in a remote setup, like I would be setting up sound systems in like a vineyard, right? For some, and this is in Napa Valley again. Like some wealthy guy decides to have some charity event, so he can hobnob with his best buds or whatever, and in the middle of like some winery, and they want to party till I don't know midnight that night. But I'm hired from like 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. or something like that.
Nope.
And and I can't just go home because I can't leave the equipment in the middle of the vineyard. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to stay there until they decide they want to be done. There'd be plenty of times when like we would be taking down the sound systems, and like people would just be booing at us, because they're just
Oh,
upset
no.
that, like, they want to keep just, I don't know,
Dang.
being drunk and doing nothing.
It's like, you can't stay here. You gotta get the hell out of here.
Yeah, but that was always the issue, was that like management would never like they would not give us the accurate hours. I mean, they know that these events go later than the time that they give us, and they justified it by saying, well, you get overtime pay, and you get more hours or whatever. And it's like, no, I want a normal schedule. But on top of, and see, the problem with that is that would frustrate everybody at my level. So everybody at my level just disliked the job. They would always be talking bad about the job, and because of that low morale, they also wouldn't care. Like, they wouldn't do their jobs well. And when you're dealing with like thousands of dollars worth of equipment, like some guys that really didn't care, they would just like toss the equipment around, like when we're tearing it down, not really caring to take care of it. And on top of that, everybody's just always complaining. It's just not it's not a good, like, just the vibe of everybody there wasn't really good. And there was one time, I'm not gonna say who my coworker was. I'm not gonna say him by name, but he pissed me off so much because he was like the worst. Like, he was known to be the guy that didn't care the absolute most, or maybe the best way to say it is he cared the absolute least. And I'm underneath the garage door that's controlled by a chain, and we're putting all the equipment away. And I'm right directly below it, and he just lets the chain rip because he wants to go home already. And it just comes crashing down on me. Like, a good thing, like, I have decent reaction time, and I ducked out of the way.
Yeah.
Because it was in your flank.
Yes.
Or it was in the garage.
Yes. Sure.
Sorry.
Anyway.
Sorry.
But yeah, and I was getting ready to complain to management about him and everything, and he had the audacity, like, defend himself and say, like, you shouldn't have been standing underneath the garage anyway, whatever. It's like, dude, you're stupid, man. Like,
Right.
you're really going to try to tell me that, like, you almost freaking cut my head off, and
Yeah.
it's my fault. Yeah, and so, another issue in that job was just that, like, it was kind of what you said, Johnny, where they wouldn't really promote from within. They would
Yeah.
hire actually from our competitors, and then there was one situation. This for me was like, okay, I got to get out of this job. Like, they brought somebody in. They had me train him, to get him used to the job and everything. And then they put him above me, like, as the person that's supposed to tell me what to do. It's like, it didn't
Slap
make any
in the
sense.
face.
Exactly. And I realized that, and everybody there, like, not, they only worked there until they decided to leave. That's obviously the way the culture of that job was. So I knew it was time to go. That was really just that's yeah. I can't say I've ever really had a terrible boss. It's really just as far as like personality goes, they're not terrible. I think the only issues that I have with bosses, that I've had personally with bosses, is just being disorganized, and also just kind of being a puppet. You know what I mean? Like, they're like,
yeah.
oh, corporate says this, or upper management. My boss says I can't do this for you, and that's just got to deal with it.
Right.
So,
Tea.
yep, tea.
That was piping hot. Annie, last but not least.
My God. I was hoping to go last. I was
This ought to
really
be
hoping to
good.
go last. You guys. Okay. Let me first start
Settling
with my
in.
favorite. Let me start with my favorite job, okay? My favorite job was working for, and I'll say it. I'll say the name of the company because this was actually my favorite. I was working for a company called EIZO, E-I-Z-O. Go look it up. Um, Google it. They were a high-end display monitor company, and they had different verticals from medical radiology monitors all the way down to business and gaming. They pulled out of the gaming industry because they just really didn't have a whole lot of presence there. They only had two specific monitors at the time that they were trying to compete with the likes of like ViewSonic and Ben. What is it? Ben. Now all the names of the monitors are escaping me. Anyways, all the gaming monitors and whatnot. So, but why it was my favorite job was because it was my first actual public relations and marketing manager position that I've ever had, and I was in charge of the marketing materials, the collaterals, and getting those ready for all the trade shows and sending them ahead of the trade shows. I also got to travel with the trade shows. I was the actual spokesperson for all the trade shows. So I would be at the booth and talking, you know, anytime we had presentations or we had new monitors to launch or to reveal, that kind of thing. My favorite was in Chicago. I went to Chicago three times, 3 years in a row, and it was the really huge Radiological Society of North America, RSNA is what they called it. It was 1 week long in Chicago. Dang. Which was a lot of fun, so much fun. So a lot of culture that we took in downtown Chicago, lots of pizza places and all these really nice eateries and whatnot. And then my second favorite was going to New York, where we were there 3 years in a row as well. And that was for the Photo Expo, I think is what it was called. So that was a lot of fun. So and part of my job was also being in charge of ambassadors. So I was, what was called then ambassadors is what we call influencers now. So I was in charge of all of the ambassadors that were part of our verticals. And most of them for me were photography, or sorry, oh goodness, I want to say what we call, oh goodness, why was it escaping me? They were commercial photographers and whatnot. So, and I used to always put their schedules together and travel with them. So I was ambassador for them and, you know, introduce them. Every time we had trade shows, I'd say, everybody, this is, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so. They're going to talk on XYZ. So that was my favorite job. I was there for close to 3 years. And I did a lot of traveling with them. And then there was just management issues and just some things that they, you know, a lot of things that fell on deaf ears, and I left. So, and then an onslaught of poor decisions and all these things with the new jobs. Okay, that's where it snowballed. And the very next job after that, well, actually 2 jobs after that, was working for a TV station, quote unquote TV station. Come to like Johnny, the boss that was embezzling and just taking investors' money.
Oh no!
Just horrible. And I remember I was a publicist for the company too, for the TV station, right? I was the publicist, so my name was on so much literature. There's so many press releases. So the one time we get this notice from the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, right, saying that they're shutting us down because our CEO was embezzling money. And I'm going, this is kind of serious. So I give it to the VP and I say, you need to look at this. She freaking brushed me off. She goes, oh, that's just formalities because we went public. Yeah, we went IPO and we went public and we get those, you know, formality letters. I'm like,
oh no,
I don't think that's this letter. You have to look at it. I legit put it in her face and I said, look at it. You need to see it and look at it. And she goes, no, she brushed me off. The very next day, we got an emergency meeting as soon as we got into the office. Emergency meeting. I'm like, gee, I wonder what it is, right? And our CEO's like, did you know that we're getting shut down? And he's panicking, right? So I'm like, I looked at the VP and I wanted to say, are you freaking kidding me? This is exactly what I was telling you last night. So she just says, "Oh, I didn't realize. I didn't even read it." And I go, "Yeah, no kidding."
That's
So
gaslighting.
we spent all day and all night. I spent all day and all night, 12 hours, you guys,
No.
coming up with a press release that was going to make us, that was going to, put us in a better light. Don't ask me how, but I cried. I literally, and the legal guy and I were just writing and scratching and tearing papers and writing, rewriting, scratching, tearing papers. And then finally, because we had to get it filed before midnight, at 11:59, I was like the last one there and legal. And I finally uploaded the press release and sent it to SEC at 11:59. And that did not sit with me at all well. So the very next day, I was like having stomach issues. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe my name's on that press release. I went in. I didn't name the name, right? I didn't name the name of the company, right? Okay. I went in and I actually changed the press release and I put it over to the VP instead. I was not going to have my name on it. Nope.
Ooh,
Nope.
spicy.
Nope. Yeah, I wasn't
How do
going to
you
have
come
my
back
name
from
on it.
that?
She's
No,
like, I do not
seriously.
claim this.
That's like damage control on another level.
It was
so tough.
bad. It was so bad. And then, of course, right now the place is shut down. He's been, indicted and whatnot, and it's a whole deal. So, and then very recently, I'm not going to go into detail, but very, 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 very recently, most of you guys know this because I've been sick to my stomach for 2 weeks, literally 3 weeks actually, because of a new job that I just left. And it was this, you talk about horrible bosses, and I'm not going to say who or what. But let's just say he put me through the freaking ringer, and I would cry every morning going to work. I would leave my house at 5:45 in the morning to get there by 6:45 to start by 7. And I would cry every morning driving to work. And it took me, for an hour to drive to work, and coming home, it would be upwards of an hour 45 minutes driving back every day for 3 weeks. This just past 3 weeks, and I would cry coming home. And some of you guys have had conversations with, on the way home. Awful, awful. But this boss was pissed at me because I had just come off of COVID and started, and he literally, dismissed me, told me to get the F out of his office. Are you freaking ludicrous? I'm using nicer words. Are you effing ludicrous? Are you out of your effing mind? He legit yelled at me, cursed me out, and then made me leave. I went home. Yes, I went home. I cried. I stood in a 3-hour line basically to get a COVID test to make sure it was negative. And when I presented to him the very next day or that night, I said, "Here," and he goes, "Okay, come to work." So I go to work, and then the very next day, this is the second day. My technically it's my first day on the job because I hadn't been there the first day. But my second day, he takes me to lunch. And I'm sitting there and I'm telling him, by the way, there's this big event that's happening in May in New York, and it starts on May 15th through the 18th. And he says, "Yes, it's huge, and you're like a big part of it. You're like the ringleader." Da, 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 da. I'm like, "Okay, but May 14th is my daughter's wedding." Here's him. "Are you effing kidding me?" And we're in a restaurant. We're in a restaurant. There's people. And he's loud and he's screaming at me, and I'm going, "Please lower your voice." Like, "Are you serious?" And he's screaming at me.
That guy is a toddler.
This is him. If I would have ever known, I would never have hired you. And you know what? And you know what? The VP who onboarded me, he goes, "And she was right. I should have never hired you." And I was like, "Oh, snap." Yeah, it was awful. I mean, and then I documented everything every day. And I'll end with this. So he had said, "You are off to a bad start. This is 2 strikes or 2 surprises, 2 strikes. One more surprise. Can we agree that you're not the right fit for this job?" And I'm like, oh my God. So literally for a whole week and a half, I walked on pins and needles and eggshells and just waiting for something to happen. And, I
It's
talked
like he
to
had
many
it
of
for
you
you from the
guys.
start.
Toxic.
Yeah, for real. I talked to many of you guys, and a lot of you were like, "Just give him the 3rd surprise and get out of there."
Yeah.
It was bad. This is very recently, you guys. I kid you not, 100 times,
That's the worst. I think that the worst you can deal with is someone who's unprofessional,
Mhm.
abusive,
Mm-hmm.
just like a child, like
Mm-hmm.
a big child,
Yeah.
Right.
basically. A
Yeah.
lot of rich people act this way.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, a lot of people in Hollywood act this
Sure.
way.
Mhm.
Right.
And I had a friend who worked in they would rent those big trailer things to the Hollywood stars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, and that's how they all act. And it didn't matter how much they're paying her so much money, to work for that company. And she just walked out. She's like, it's not worth your health. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's the important thing. It's like, I mean, I've seen a lot of stories in the chat too of like people in toxic work environments or working with like bosses or managers that suck straight up, and it's like there is no shame in like in leaving because
Yeah.
it's not, it is not worth it.
Yeah, well, it ended. I kind of had to like take matters into my own hands,
Yeah.
basically, and I had been waiting for other recruiters to help me find another job and whatnot. So the last thing I did was I called a VP friend of mine who worked in HR for Verizon for a long time, and I wanted to pass something by her and see if she thought I was in the right, if I the way to end it. And she goes,
Right.
"Oh, 100%. You don't owe him anything. You don't this. You don't that. The only thing I ever ask people is when they resign is I need it in writing." So she advised me to email him, and that's exactly what I did. I emailed him and I
Yeah.
said, effective immediately, I resigned from my position.
Yep.
And his only answer to me was, disappointing that you didn't give me 2 weeks' notice, but one has to do what one has to do. And that was it.
Ball.
I was like,
Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
bye.
Well,
Bye,
I'm glad.
Felicia.
I'm glad that you got
Right.
out of that, Annie, because
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
that's
telling you, I
that is
had
no
the worst
bueno.
headaches. It was
Yeah.
awful. It was very, very toxic.
That's crazy too. Is like work culture nowadays is finally caught up, but like before, people like the mentality used to be like you just got to put up with that. Like you have to
Yeah.
just basically bend over and take
Mm-hmm.
it for your jobs. You know,
Yeah.
before.
Well, and even I mean, the past 2 years alone has just thrown off the dynamic of going into the office and interacting with people and like collaborating, and it's like working from home, and it's just like
Mm-hmm.
it's thrown off even more. So it's like
Yep.
it is interesting to see like what's going to happen, because I mean for a lot of us, like we are working, or we're thinking of going back into work,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
whatever part of the process, but it's something that everyone experiences. um
Right.
so we are gonna kind of start to wrap things up for this evening. But I did want to ask one more question, and we'll get the raid going and all that stuff. And again, thank you to everyone in the chat that have been chiming in and sharing your work stories. Um, it is important to talk about these kinds of things because again it happens to everyone, and there's help. I mean, like if like how Annie says that she had a friend who works in HR that she like ran this by, like um and also disclaimer, which I should have said in the beginning, like we're not like work professional experts either. Like we're
Right.
still figuring
Definitely not.
this
Right.
stuff out with
Mm-hmm.
however couple of years of work experience we've had. But it's yeah, I mean it's helpful. I mean I know like from doing this podcast and working with you guys, it's like it is a work situation. There is some professionalness to it, and it's cool too that like through Twitch, like we've grown our network. We're like, hey, we know someone who has this skill, like that
Hmm.
has this expertise. And like when Annie's talking about all the marketing and the trade shows and the PR, I'm like, those are words I know because I do that too. Um, but yeah, so with that said, the last question that I want to ask everybody is tell us about a job. Where did we go? What's a job that was an eye opener for you? Um, did it change your perspective on life or money or helping people? And it might have been one of the jobs that we've been talking about already. I can start. I mean, I think in terms of eye opening, I'd say the job that I'm at right now is definitely like this is where I want to be for a while. So I've been learning a lot. And so maybe that's also why I'm like at this point like I feel like I'm okay staying here and like learning more stuff. But the first like one of the first jobs I had, it's the nonprofit community organizing. And they were called Pico California, PICO, like the salsa. And I just like it was I liked it a lot because it was a lot of the things that I was doing, social media and like but then it was also for a good cause because it's like community organizing for like getting people to register to vote or like it was an election year and like all these whatever social justice kind of issues and things. And that's where I learned a lot of the things that I do now and like the habit of how to just send good emails and to plan things and just the work ethic. So I think that kind of like set the bar for me. Like this is the kind of thing that I want to find wherever I go. And like the people that I were working with were awesome. Like it was a lot of people like just being real and understanding with each other because it's a tough kind of job and a tough field to be in. So yeah, if anyone is in well, uh, if anyone's interested in like kind of that kind of social organizing, it's called Pico. But yeah, Johnny, what tell us about a job that has been an eye opener for you?
It'd probably be when I was in college. I waited till I was older to go to college. There was one point where I had three jobs at the same time,
Ooh,
Wow.
and I mean,
Yikes.
I realized taxes suck. Just because you do work harder doesn't mean your life's easier.
for
It's
real.
actually they would tax the heck out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's unbelievable, unbelievable.
You can't escape it.
I didn't have a single moment to even cash these checks, and when I would come to tax time, they would just decimate me in taxes. But one job that I did take when I decided to go back to school, luckily I had a high enough grades that I got a Pell Grant. I decided to become one of the faculty assistants. So I actually
Nice.
worked under one or two of the professors and graded papers, helped with lesson plans, and it got me to really appreciate what they do and the process and the whole education system. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's really interesting to see like they're just like teachers, professors, they're like regular people. So
Mm-hmm.
when you work alongside them, you get to hear about their personal life, personal businesses they have on the side,
Mm-hmm.
their education, their expectations. It was
Right.
really interesting, and it changed my perspective in life. You know that
Right.
education is really it's really cool. It's really neat. It's actually really neat to be
It is. It's an
yeah,
interesting system, that's for sure.
yeah.
Um, Wifey, eye-opening job.
So I gotta say, and it may be a little different for me because since I am a stay-at-home mom, that right there was eye-opening. I mean, from my husband joining the army years back, and that's when I, really was a stay-at-home mom.
Oh yeah,
Him being deployed and him being in training and me really being on my own.
yeah,
My
holding it
son was
down.
only 2, and it was a big eye opener, and trying to figure out what can I do as a stay at home mom, but to kind of also make money here and there. So I had the experience in baking and decided, you know what, like I'm gonna do my baking as much as I can, and started going on social media and putting all kinds of messages out there, putting my pictures and my Facebook and all that, and trying to get as many customers as I could. And I mean, I did get really busy at one point. I would have sometimes 2 3 cakes to do in one weekend,
Nice.
and would have sometimes months where I'd have like you know um cakes plan out already, throughout the month. Um, so that's definitely something that it was a big eye opener, and how to do this, how to be a stay-at-home mom, and but still do what I can. And even like today, I've actually just recently become a dasher.
Oh,
um
Nice.
and so I'm still learning, and it's something else that I kind of was like, well, now that my son is older, and my husband goes to work and stuff, but there's times where one job finishes and he kind of has a gap in between. So I figured, well, maybe I can kind of contribute in a way, and do try it out and see how it is, kind of stay in my area.
nice.
And it's working out good. It's just it's sometimes I'm like, oh man, like we were talking about Chick-fil-A. That's one of the worst places have
Oh
had to go to pick
Oh,
up orders, because it's no matter
Aw.
what time of the day,
They're
there is
Oh yeah,
swamped.
always
they're very
cars.
busy. Yeah.
It's always busy, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
could have done like 2-3 orders by the time I'm
Aw.
sitting there waiting for one order.
Right.
So yeah, and it's funny because I, as a customer of DoorDash too, I would always like see like, oh, like how much should I tip them? Like, oh, I'll just tip them like a couple dollars here and there. And then now that I'm doing it on the other end, I'm like, oh
Mm-hmm.
man, like I feel bad. Like I should be tipping them a lot more, because that's how you make your money. I mean, they do still pay you a little bit, but you solely make most of your money is through the
Some
tips.
tips, yeah.
Yeah. So,
How long have
but
you
yeah.
been doing the DoorDash?
Just recently, I've only done it now. What, this is like my second week.
Okay.
So,
Ooh.
and it's got its ups and downs, it's kind of hard because you want to look at the mileage, and so you have to think about you're spending gas, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you're go if and so I was looking up videos and stuff of other people who do it, and kind of like the do's and don'ts, and whether it's worth it or not. And they kind of had me thinking, because they were saying, well, if you look at your mileage, think about it as $1 a mile. If you're going 10 miles out, you don't want to take an order that's $3-4 in tip. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, now you just spent way more money on going to go do an order that you just spent on gas. You understand? So then it's like, it's not really worth it.
Yeah.
So, and not only are you doing 10 miles going, but you're also doing 10 miles coming back. So,
Mm-hmm.
you got to
Mm-hmm.
kind of think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to really stay in my area, and it's pretty cool. The app does give you options so that you can stay in your area. It's like your own zone. It'll kind of tell you, like, I'll get messages that'll say, hey, right now your area is really busy, would you like to go dash right now? So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
And it tells you everything. You can keep your customers alert, so throughout the time that you leave your house to you get to the restaurant, you can click and say, hey, I'm here at the restaurant. Hey, now I've picked up your order. And then, hey, I'm on my way. Like, you can literally continue to
Yeah.
send notifications to them, so that they know, that you're doing your thing, and that you're not just, at times I'm so hungry, because you get all this food and your car,
It's sitting
your
in your
car just smells
car.
so
Yeah.
good. My husband's even said, like, just take it home. And I'm like, no,
No.
I can't do
Oh
that.
my
Just take
God.
one fry. Can you?
No.
No, the
One
majority of
onion
the majority of those to go orders are usually either stapled or
Yeah,
taped,
Yeah,
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 with the
yeah.
yeah.
receipt or whatever, to
That's
keep
true.
everything,
Yeah, I got a portable
close.
stapler. I have a portable stapler.
I was stapler in the car.
Get it. You need your stapler remover and your
You're
stapler.
making sure it's not poisonous. You're doing that with service, okay? You're making
Right?
sure it's not poisonous.
Yeah,
It's
Crazy
so
Pac-Man in the
funny.
chat says quality check.
Oh,
That's true.
Quality
yeah,
check, right?
That's
exactly.
Yeah,
true.
it's cool though. I mean, I feel like if you really know how to do it, and you do stay in your area, and you don't drive too far away, you can make some pretty good money. I mean, I was watching these videos, and some of these girls, I mean, if you do it all day, so let's just say you do the breakfast hour, you do the lunch hour, you do dinner, and some of these girls are saying they were making, $700, $800 a week,
Wow.
and just doing, and they take the breaks in between. So, once you're done with breakfast, you go home, take your break, wait for lunchtime, And then when lunchtime's, done, you take a break and you wait for dinner time. I don't do it all day because if my son comes home, then I kind of, take a break and do homework and whatnot. But then once my husband's home, I'm like, okay, I'm out, dinner time, I'm out. It is usually to me the most busiest in my area. I feel like the breakfast is really not that busy. And I did lunch once. And it was just too crazy because I feel like not only are you doing the lunch ones for people who are at their houses, but you're also doing it. You're competing because of people that are out for lunch, right, from their jobs. So it's just too crazy. I'm like, I'm good. So I usually do more the dinners than anything. But just to give you a ballpark, with 2 days that I did just dinner, so you're talking from 4:30 to about maybe 9 o'clock at night. I did like 3 orders one night and maybe like 2 orders the next, and had a little over $50.
Oh.
Nice.
So not too bad, and again, I stay in my area. I don't go far. Sometimes I'll see like Chipotle, and then there's like 2 or 3 people that want it. So I'll try and see if I can stack them so that way I can grab it all there and then go. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Like I've had to go to Chipotle, leave, and then I got another order. I had to go back to Chipotle, and because the order didn't show up the first time, and then it shows up later on. So, but it's cool. I think it is an eye opener too, because you do see what they do out there, and now I'm in that same position, and I'm like, oh dang, I'm like, okay, this is how it works,
Well, I remember how critical you'd be when they would mess up, because you would be
right,
Oh, yeah.
right. And that's another thing. Like they
And
would
it's
be
like
like,
you're trying to fix the system from the inside now.
if you get the order wrong, even me before, I used to be like, oh my God, this dasher just screwed up my order or whatever. But then now being a dasher, it's not us, it's the restaurant, because again, they give you a stapled bag, and whatever's in there, you can't open it. So you go and deliver what it is that's in there and hope that it's the right. The only thing I always double check is the drinks. Because the drinks they'll give to you separately, so if I see that there's drinks in there and they only gave me a bag, then I'm always like, hey, are there drinks? And there's like little tips and stuff, like keep napkins in your car to put extra napkins with the order, keep straws in your car, stuff like that.
Condiments.
That
Right.
makes sense.
Even little things you just give them, it can go a long
Even
way.
mints. They say like keep mints, if you can have like little mints and put in people's orders.
Can you do it if you have a motorcycle? Because I know gas is real expensive in California.
Yeah, even bikes. Even a regular
like
bicycle.
if you had a motorcycle with a little thing that you could strap things to.
We've
Because
ordered
you
an
can get in and out of areas really quick,
My
and then
food would be cold by the time you get to me.
Well, we get a hot bag.
Yeah,
Put
you
it
get
on.
a bag.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I have
that's
my
true.
hot bag. They even send
It's-
us a mask and hand
it's-
sanitizer. So
Oh,
It's
right,
about
right.
convenience. It's not about you, Annie. It's about the
I didn't say it
convenience
was
of
about
the
me. I was
DoorDasher. Okay.
I was speaking collectively. Lord.
Yeah. Watch it rain. We're like, here's the food.
right.
Well, yeah.
And it's funny, and even the days that were raining, it was like the most busiest because people don't want to leave their houses.
It's true.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna go out there in the rain. I'm like, I'm good. I'll wait. but it's funny because I'm sure I would have made probably good money going out there in the rain, but because nobody wants to leave their house, so everybody starts ordering.
It's true.
Well, okay, I'm not gonna say nothing. Okay.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Jen. It's okay. You can say it.
No, I was just gonna say like, I could see my grandma, God rest her soul, like slapping me across the face if I was to use a DoorDash service, because it's a younger thing. You know what I mean? Like some people, they can't get out. They can't. They can't go out. Some or they don't have a license, or you know what I mean. So I get it. I get that makes sense. But some people are just,
Lazy.
you're making money off the laziness. You're like my best friend. Like they use it all the time, and it's like, dude, you don't. You buy everything.
I've delivered
Is it really
to someone, like across their street? Like you couldn't just
My
get in,
friend
and
does that too.
I see
And
their
then-
car in their driveway and stuff. So it's not like
And
there's
then
no
a
car
lot
there.
of times people have food, but like it's convenient. They can they can get that McDonald's delivered right before they close. It's like, come on, you don't even need to eat right now. It's like it creates bad eating habits. I think.
And now I noticed that they have it even for like, you could
In-N-Out?
go
In-N-Out
to
burger?
no, you could even go to like Walgreens or
Yeah.
CVS, and They and there's like a thing now where if you order from DoorDash, it'll say you got 10 minutes or whatever, 5 minutes if you want to go ahead and add for your dasher to stop at
Yeah,
CVS
I've
and
seen
grab you a
that.
couple things.
I've seen that.
Oh,
Crazy.
Uh-huh. I was
but
like,
you
oh,
know,
look at that.
I've never used any of the services because I would be afraid my grandma would slap me across the head. Like, you know what I mean? But I see the reason and the appeal for it, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll
I
try
Yeah.
it one
use it
day.
a lot because I only have the one car. So a lot of times if I'm home and I haven't done grocery or whatever, and I'm like, you know what, I'm hungry, I'm gonna order something. So,
It
that's
sounds
really
exciting though. It does. Like if I had a motorcycle, I might try doing that. Just
they
you
say
know,
as long as you have transportation, it doesn't even matter. They even say a regular
it's
bike,
just gas is
you
so
can do it
high
on
right
bike.
now. It's SoCal. It's like
Yeah.
it's
It's
crazy.
it's
People
different.
can't even afford to get to work. It's like it's ridiculous right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're gonna uh keep who didn't share yet?
Annie.
Annie and DJ.
Yeah.
uh,
Rock paper scissors. Just
I'll go
kidding.
real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what was the question? I forgot now. All of a
So we were
sudden.
talking about eye opening
Opener. That's right. Okay.
jobs.
So before I started Eizo, Eizo, I have to say it because it's a Japanese name. It's Eizo. But before I started Eizo, I was actually doing content creating for a year, about a year before. So I was already doing my YouTube channel, and I literally did 52 weeks worth of videos. That was my goal, was to do one year straight, every week have content, and being a one woman, sorry, on the road and doing all
Mhm.
the things, setting up,
Mhm.
getting the cameras all set up and editing and shooting and all that biz. I did all that by myself. So I watched a lot of tutorials and whatnot. But then when I worked at Azo, there was a lot of like they wanted to tap into the influencer ambassadorship parts of the business. But they didn't know how to go about doing that. So I had already been doing content creating, so I already know like how people would, or companies were already reaching out to me,
Mhm.
asking me to, would you like to collab, or would you like to do this, or would you like to do that. So I kind of brought one woman production. Yes, thank you. What I said earlier was probably not the right terminology, but so I already had some of that knowledge about going into Azo. So when I started there, at Azo, I was able to bring all of that in and be able to use that, toward my keeping up with the ambassadorship and whatnot. But it also was a really big eye opener for me at Azo because it solidified basically everything that I knew what I was doing, that I was questioning, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? It solidified that what I was doing was absolutely 100% correct.
Nice.
Like
Yeah.
you hear all the influencers and all the YouTubers tell you, and if you want to start, YouTubing, they tell their story, uh, how they started with content creating, and it's the same story. If you ever hear their very very first stories, right? They say, I've always wanted to do it, and someone just finally told me, just do it, just create. You don't even have to worry about the camera that you use or the kinds of camera that you use. You don't even have to worry about the content. Just
Mhm.
create, create, create. The one thing that one person one time only told me was, if you're gonna use your phone, make sure you turn it this way and not turn it that way, right? That was the one thing. So yeah, so horizontal as opposed to vertical. So it's always stuck with me, and then even to this day, stuck with me. So starting at Azo was the eye opener because, like I said, it solidified and verified everything that I was doing was correct, and that, taking a leap of faith is a good thing, right? Because when I took a leap of faith in making content, doing content creating, it opened up doors later. So now I do podcasts and, Twitch and streaming and that kind of thing. So that was the eye opener job, and it was my favorite job, and it was, to this day, something that I will always credit, for helping me. It didn't really give me the start to what I'm doing currently, but it just, like I said, it just gave me the verification, the confirmation that what I was doing was indeed the right thing, and I knew from there that this is what I want to do. You know,
Nice.
I want to be able to. Um, I don't want to make it a full time thing because I don't think it's going to happen, but it is something I will continue to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is what I like to do.
Nice. I mean, yeah, definitely what makes it an eye-opening job experience is like there's things that we've learned from it that we've built on, that the skills that we got then that we were able to bring into what we do now. So last but not least,
Mhm.
DJB.
Well, I'll make my answer pretty short. I mean, I used to work for a college, excuse me, and I was the broadcast technician for the college, and that college did it would do like these guest lecturers and things like that, and I would be in charge of basically doing the live stream setups uh, um, for those events, and what I appreciated about that and what I got out of it versus like the previous job that I had where like I mentioned like it was just wealthy people having parties and business meetings and stuff like that is that
Mm.
these were really important uh there weren't really so much lectures. It would just be like we would bring in, for example, they would have something like the social justice series or the student equity series, and they would bring in like um, one. There was a girl that was my age, but she was a DACA recipient. You know, she came. I'm sorry, she was a a childhood arrival undocumented citizen, and that was when DACA was huge, and she was just telling about her story. And then there was another woman that she immigrated illegally through a coyote from like Ecuador,
Mm.
and she was talking about how her experience crossing illegally was so difficult, and how she was escaping like sexual abuse in her family and things like that, and how her life was just really difficult where she was originally from. Another one was like a woman who her family they were refugees from Vietnam during the Vietnam War, and she drew a graphic novel. She wrote and drew a graphic novel telling her story, and I think these were really important to me to just as far as like doing my work there, because it felt like it actually mattered, because these are
Mm.
things that are like important issues, and it's one thing for people to talk about these topics and get like political and get super woke, but it's another thing to actually like listen to real people's stories about these topics and these situations. And so for me it's like, you know what, this is more stuff that I appreciate as
Mm-hmm.
work, because it's just it's just stuff that matters. It's stuff that's like more important than just you know like just setting up a sound system for the sake of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And I think that that's what I take with me ever since that last job is just that I want to do in my career. I want to do work not just to pay the bills. I know a lot of people just that's all they want to do, and that's totally fine. But for me, it's like I'd prefer to do
Mm-hmm.
things that just do more than that. Like do things that actually matter in a grander scheme of things.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Mic drop.
Mhm.
Nice. Well, it's like with every mixed talk episode we do, it's like I always feel like we just scratch the surface of the topic, and it's like there's always so much more we can go into
Right.
and talk about and complain about horrible bosses and coworkers and things. But it's I just really appreciate um, every like I appreciate hearing about everyone's experiences because
Mm-hmm.
it's fun to know that a lot of us have experienced just how difficult or how challenging or how eye-opening jobs can be. And yeah, so we appreciate everyone in the chat again. Thank you for sharing also. And if you want to ask us for some work advice, you can. We're not professionals. But I guess this would be a good time to find somebody to raid. And while we're doing that, you're clicking on the, you're doing the music. Ugh. Great.
Okay.
But yeah, so let's look for if DJ or Annie or if you guys want to look for someone to raid. But yeah, I just want to thank everybody for hanging out with us tonight, talking about jobs, spilling some tea, and we. This is great because it's our first episode of the year, so we're going to be back next month. What our topic will be, I do not know, but we will let you know when we plan that out. But yeah, so don't forget to follow us on the socials. We are MixTalkLive on Instagram and Twitter. Does anybody else want to plug in? Tell us where you can find you. How about Wifey? Let us know where we can find you. If not, that's okay.
No, you can find me on Twitch. Wifey Loves Nerd. I don't know if it's on there or not, but that's what you were asking me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Johnny, where can we find you?
You can find me.
This
The best
freaking
spot
music.
is my channel, YouTube, Johnnyfrickinrico. Anywhere Johnnyfrickinrico. That's pretty much. I own it. So.
Good to know. Johnnyfrickinrico. Okay. Annie, where can our lovely viewers find you?
Well, I just posted the panel links for everybody there, so if you want to go click on us individually, you can do so there. My favorite place for you guys to find me is on my Discord. There's my Discord, so please join. Yeah, there you go. And,
Nice.
And game night tomorrow night. Sorry, I just had to throw it out there.
You said game night tomorrow night on your channel?
Game night tomorrow night on my
Okay.
channel. Yes.
Cool. That tomorrow will be a Monday. So if you're
Yes.
listening to this after the fact, catch the next game night.
Yeah.
DJB is scrolling and doing stuff in front of me, so I'm getting distracted. And do you want me to say your stuff?
You asked me to look for someone to
I
raid.
know you did.
Do you have anyone to
That's
raid?
what I want to do.
Annie?
No, I'm gonna go look right now. Let's see. I always like to do like genre for genre. So like we're doing talk shows and podcasts. So kind of like to stay with that and. But I don't see anybody, so I don't know if you guys are open to joining somebody or rating somebody that's new, that's maybe has a couple.
Totally
Okay.
fine. Sure, let's look for somebody that's on the same category. But sure, I'll plug myself as well. http:/twitch.tv DJB_remix, guys. Be sure to check me out. Tuesdays, I stream Valorant. I also do music occasionally with my wife Rizaline as well. A much more talented musician than I am. And I do also discussion type streams. I just recently did a episode of Deep in the Mix, which the second episode ever. I plan to do that monthly, and my guest last was Crazy Pac-Man, good friend of mine who was in chat. So yeah, be sure to check that out as well. Keep an eye out for things coming up on that. So
Yeah. And you can find me on Rizaline B on Twitch. Just go there and then it'll take you. Just go to DJB's channel. I don't know. It's fine.
Just go to
Just go over there. But yeah, so all of us have lots of different other things in the works. So definitely check us out on all of our channels and all of the other things we do. Yeah.
Commercial. I'm trying to see if this person is in the up and up, so buy a little bit more time.
Okay.
okay.
I have to say more words and keep it
Or 1 minute.
professional.
Let me just make sure I get past this commercial.
No, it's all good. Yeah. But yeah, it'll be Mix Talk's first full year, I think, because we started like February 2021.
True.
So in a month we will have been doing this for a whole year. So you can also find our old episodes and listen to them and hear how much how much things have changed with us and getting to know each other on this podcast.
Okay, I do have somebody. He's new, so I'm not really sure.
That's okay.
You know, don't scrutinize me on the selection, but his
It's
name is Relim, Rellim. He's a partner. He's doing just chatting right now. I think he does talk show and podcasts. Rellim
Okay.
is his name.
All right. So we shall raid Relum. There's the raid call, I believe. There you go. Copy and paste that, everybody.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
And we
Bye,
shall
everybody.
raid-
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for a wonderful time.
We need like an outro. Mix Talk Live.
The Wayne's World.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
See
Night.
ya. Bye. Good
Good
night.
night.
And we are good.
There we go.